mean, after starting the show yesterday with Madonna's Like a Virgin, I thought, what the heck? Let's throw all caution to the wind and go with Do You Think I'm Sexy from Rod Stewart this morning to begin our show. It was 47 years ago today, this day being February the 10th, that Rod Stewart began a 4-week run at number 1 on the U.S. singles chart with that song right there. Do You Think I'm Sexy? It was his third U.S. number 1, also became a number 1 hit in the U.K. And also, on this day in 1979, Rod started a 3-week run at number 1 on the U.S. album chart with the album Blondes Have More Fun. Do You Think I'm Sexy from Rod Stewart, beginning our show for this Tuesday, the 10th of February. Welcome to it. Thank you so very much for stopping by, spending some of your valuable time with us, because it really does mean a lot. Love to engage in these conversations with you, and they wouldn't be the same without you. As you know, our phone lines open the minute we begin the show every day. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Email works anytime. It's Mike at 570news.com. And, of course, the social media platforms. We've got a Facebook page, The Mike Farwell Show, and you can find me on X or Instagram at Farwell_WR. To the email inbox, where I got an email yesterday afternoon from Malcolm. Malcolm writes to Mike at 570news.com. I just wanted to reference some comments made about Olympic athletes and medal expectations during the show today. This, again, came in yesterday afternoon. And Malcolm says, any Canadian who qualifies for the Olympics is fantastic and worthy of everyone's admiration. If they get a medal, great. If not, thanks. You made us all proud. Suggestion. If they finish number 1 or number 20 and record a personal best in the event, maybe they should receive an Olympic Medal of Excellence from our Prime Minister. Your thoughts, please. Have a great day, Malcolm. I'll tell you what, Malcolm. I am with you all the way on making the Olympics in and of itself is an accomplishment worthy of our admiration. I'm with you. Every single athlete there has made us all proud, and the way they carry themselves, of course, as Canadians, continues to make us proud. I might stop a little short of the Olympic Medal of Excellence if you finish first or 20th and record a personal best, because I'm not a participation ribbon guy. I'm just not. You'll have the memories from, you know what I'm saying? Like how there are, I get it. Like I hear your side of it, and fine if that's the way it's going to be. I'm just going to tell you my side of it. These games that we play, youth sports, where we don't keep score anymore because, nobody wins and nobody loses, right? And even if you show up, you get the participation ribbon. That's not the cloth that I am cut from. So absolutely, I will admire and sing the praises of every athlete who has made it to that highest level to compete at the Olympics. But I don't think I'm going to get behind the idea of an Olympic Medal of Excellence. You win the medal for placing first, second, or third. Gold, silver, bronze, and you will always have the memory of being a Canadian Olympian. And that's just my 2 cents on that. But I love where you're coming from. Any Canadian who qualifies for the Olympics is fantastic and worthy of admiration. Absolutely true. I stopped short of an extra medal, if you will, kind of just for showing up. But if you've got thoughts about that, I mean, you're always welcome to share them. I already shared the phone numbers with you. You know how this show works. Things are always open for conversation. But again, I'm with you, Malcolm. Let's cheer on those athletes, whether they medal at the game or not. City of Waterloo yesterday sharing a very important post on social media, and our friends at CTV Kitchener picked it up, did a nice story on it last night. So I just want to take that and add another element to it. The word from the City of Waterloo via social media channels was, hey, make sure you are keeping those fire hydrants clear of snow. We've had a lot of snow, and I don't know about you, but I keep an eye on these things because there are a number of fire hydrants on our street, including one at the house next door to mine. And with all the snow that we have had, holy moly, it's harder and harder to see that fire hydrant, isn't it? And so not too long ago, a couple of weeks or so, I made sure my neighbor whose property the fire hydrant is on usually keeps it clear, gets the snowblower in there, whatever. And I don't know if he was busy or just wasn't interested in it, but whatever. So a few weeks ago, when we were having all that snow and I was out shoveling constantly, I decided, you know what? I should get this thing dug out a little better. We could still see the fire hydrant, and I ain't no fire person, but I thought to myself, well, you could probably, get the hose on there. You can still, it's visible enough and whatnot, but I thought it could be better. So I cleared out a little more snow so that the access to said fire hydrant was much easier should it be required. And this is a long-standing message that we get from fire departments, from municipalities, just like the city of Waterloo did yesterday, reminded us, hey, keep those fire hydrants clear. Great message. But now what about the catch basins? Can I come back to my catch basins? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Yes, I want to come back to my catch basins because I think, and I said this earlier this winter, we need to have similar messaging around the catch basins on our street. I used Google Maps to search out all of them on our street. I think I found 4 from the block that we are on. A neighbor down to my left, if you will, is excellent at keeping his clear. I have taken it upon myself to clear the one right directly in front of our house and across the street. And I even go down the street. I do. I put my shovel over my shoulder like I'm a 12-year-old kid going door to door shoveling driveways. And I clear out the other catch basins down the block from me. And then there's the neighbor on, again, the other side that does it himself. And there's one more much further down. And I'm like, listen, I can't do everything around here, right? But I think we need to remind folks that those catch basins are equally important. Unless we worry more about fires and less about floods. I don't know. But this all came to my attention the night I came home from a hockey game. The temperature had gone up while I was at work. The rain had begun, and it was pooling on my street. And I thought, what the heck? And then I realized, oh, of course, because of all the snow and the ice and the muck, the water can't get to the catch basin. And don't even get me started in Cambridge, where so many catch basins are still so plugged up because of all of the leaves that did not get collected. Jonathan from Cambridge shared an email with me a while back about the state of his street in particular, and even sent photos because of all the leaves that are buried under the snow and how inaccessible sidewalks have become. And anyway, it's just a mess out there. But if there's a catch basin near your house, well, along with that fire hydrant that the city of Waterloo is reminding you to keep clear, let's also keep the catch basins clear because something is going to happen. I promise you this will happen. I can't tell you exactly when it will happen. I wish I could make it happen tomorrow, but I promise you this is going to happen. It's going to get warmer. The snow will melt, and all of those ginormous snowbanks are going to melt into water, and that water is going to need someplace to go. And if those catch basins are not accessible to that water, then we are prone to flooding. You see how this works? It's going to get warmer. So speaking of those snowbanks, I stopped for an appointment here on the boardwalk yesterday after work. So instead of just exiting my usual way through a roundabout, I actually made a turn onto Iron Needles Boulevard. And can I just tell you, I mean, I ain't the biggest guy. I don't drive the biggest car. But holy moly, it was incredibly difficult to see oncoming traffic as I was trying to sneak. I'm just edging forward and edging forward and edging forward. So a note to the region. I know you're busy. Trust me. I know there's a lot going on out there in terms of winter weather and dealing with it. But those snowbanks along Iron Needles could certainly use a trimming, okay? Because I could barely see other smaller vehicles like mine. I'm like, did I just see a vehicle come around that roundabout? I was down towards the Landmark Cinema end, so closer to Herb Street. And I'm watching, I'm like, I think I saw a car coming through that roundabout. Which lane is it in? Is it safe for me to turn into the right lane here? Oh, my goodness. Anyway, very difficult. I'm sure Ira Needles isn't the only place, but that's the place I experienced it yesterday. Maybe, just maybe, we got to get some equipment out there and trim down those snowbanks.
1, 2.
How about 5 for you this morning? As always, your Farwell Show 5 to begin the show. Number 1, Canada has its 3rd medal of the Milan Cortina Olympics. We won silver today in the short track speed skating mixed team relay. You see what we won our silver medal in? Short track speed skating mixed team relay. That's right, just behind host Italy. Also, in women's hockey, all the talk is about whether Captain Clutch Marie-Philippe Poulin will be able to play today against Team USA. Poulin left yesterday's win over Czechia with an injury. Number 2, after an 18% property tax increase last year, consultations with management firm KPMG and numerous amendments by councillors, Wilmot Council has passed its budget for this year. Residents can expect at a 9.1% property tax increase in 2026 for Wilmot Township. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Waterloo Council has approved the implementation of inclusionary zoning for affordable housing with an effective date of July the 1st, 2027, so about 18 months from now. Council had previously introduced inclusionary zoning within major transit station areas. This would require new private developments along the Ion route to include affordable rental units. And the implementation date was to be determined following a further market review. That review completed. The implementation date will now be July the 1st, 2027. New private developments along the Ion route in Waterloo must include affordable rental units. Number 4, U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, poised to become the newest border crossing between Windsor and Detroit. In a post to his Truth Social platform last night, Trump wrote, and I quote, "I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. And also, importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect that we deserve." End quote. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, it's game day, baby. Game day. But not just any game day. Tonight is Don Cameron Potato Night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Bring a bag of potatoes, or better yet, make a donation to the House of Friendship to support their emergency food programs, all in memory of the voice of the Kitchener Rangers. Don always said, you can bring some potatoes or you can bring some of that paper money because it's lighter to carry. So whether it's a cash donation, an online donation, it's all about Don Cameron Potato Night and the House of Friendship. Tonight on the ice, the Kitchener Rangers will face off with the London Knights.
A Monday warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Can I have 2 liters of pop? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Well, what's more healthy, 4 beers or 2 liters of Coca-Cola?
That's a very good question. Do the math. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Tuesday morning. We'll take a break. When we come back, it is your morning wake-up call. Either you can make it or I will. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Terry sends me an email to Mike at 570news.com. Hi, Mike. How could you not see how the U.S. federal government could block the opening of the new bridge? It seems they would be responsible for the customs agents for an international crossing. Appreciate the email, Terry. I'm not disputing the fact that Donald Trump and or the United States could block the opening of the bridge. I'm just wondering the why part of that. You know, Canada has not treated us fairly, yada, yada, yada. I heard another commentator not that long ago questioning whether or not U.S. President Donald Trump is in control of his mental faculties. If this man is deteriorating before our eyes, yes, much like we saw Joe Biden do in the previous term in the Oval Office. I don't know to be sure. I don't pay a whole lot of attention, but obviously there is so much being said and so much of it rather outlandish by the U.S. president. I do have to ask myself, really, if he is well overall. I don't know. He does seem to, at times anyway, ramble like the old man that is not fully in control of his senses. But that's just me. I don't dispute the fact that the U.S. could block the opening of that bridge, and certainly those border agents would play a role in the ultimate opening of that bridge and its operation. But I don't know. Middle of the night, here's another post on Truth Social. Okay. It sounds like rambling incoherence from where I'm sitting. I'll go to the phones, and Francis is with us on the morning wake-up call. Good morning, Francis.
Good morning. I heard that you needed some callers, so I thought I would call in, and I'm with you with this here gentleman from the States. I used to deal with a person a wee bit like him, but never as much, so I used to tell him I'll stand on a table to make it easier for him, and I won't go any further on that. Anyways.
Wait a minute. You'll stand on a table to make it easier for him?
For you can kiss what. But anyways.
Oh, okay.
With bringing the potatoes to the arena, I'd like to ask the people, I used to work at the House of Friendship on Guelph Street, and there was times when we had potatoes brought in after, and they were frozen people's cars. Please don't leave them in your car because they'll freeze, and do they ever stink when they start to thaw out?
Francis, excellent piece of advice. Thank you very much for that. So if you're going to take some potatoes to the game tonight, just make sure you pack those potatoes just before you leave, and they're not sitting in your car all day, because thawing potatoes stink to high heaven, says Francis, who had some firsthand experience working at the House of Friendship's building there on Guelph Street in Kitchener. Thanks for the tip. And again, remember, as Don Cameron said, it is Don Cameron potato night, but that paper money is a whole lot lighter to carry. Something I wanted to touch on is, because we got an update yesterday, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. But the update coming from Ontario's police watchdog, not the Special Investigations Unit, but the Inspector General of Policing here in Ontario. And he is promising a review of not just the Toronto Police Service, but all police services across the province following this terrible corruption issue within Toronto Police. And, of course, the arrests that were made in a sweeping investigation. It does shake, really, the foundations of policing and our faith in those systems. And something I wanted to draw your attention to, because it's notable, is that a number of the officers charged in this particular case have been suspended without pay. And that is an important distinction here, because I remember as far back as our previous police chief, Brian Larkin, here in the region, and he was advocating strongly for the ability of police services to suspend without pay, because it was still is a pretty powerful union, and suspensions with pay were commonplace. And the CBC did a pretty lengthy investigation into this a couple of years ago and found that just here in the region, suspended officers were costing taxpayers more than $6 million because, again, they were suspended with pay. And one of these suspensions was the result of an ongoing investigation concerning unsatisfactory work performance under the Police Services Act. So just think about that. Your performance is deemed unsatisfactory, you get suspended, but you continue to collect your paycheck. And it was costing us more than $6 million, and that's just going back to 2024. So you look across the province, and the numbers really start to add up. And there was a lot of advocacy, and then legislation changed provincially not long after this CBC investigation to say, yes, now suspensions with pay, or without pay, can happen. And it's notable that in this particular case, this probe into the corruption within the Toronto Police Service has led to suspensions without pay. I think that's an important distinction for us to take note of in this particular case. Ryan Teschner is the aforementioned Inspector General of Policing here in Ontario, and he held a media briefing yesterday, at which time he told us that there is going to be a probe into all of our police services across the province to ensure that everything is on the up and up. Here's what we heard from Ryan Teschner, Inspector General of Policing here in the province, yesterday.
Public trust is repeatedly cited as essential to policing, but it's important to be clear about why that trust is foundational and a requirement for our policing system to function effectively. People most often encounter police at moments of crisis, when they are frightened, injured, grieving, or in immediate danger. In those moments, public trust is not abstract. It determines whether people will seek help, whether they will cooperate, tell the truth, and accept protection. Without this trust, even lawful authority loses legitimacy and public safety is weakened for everyone. Rebuilding public trust also requires more than words. It requires action. And that is why today I am announcing an independent province-wide inspection into the ability of Ontario's police services and boards to prevent, detect, respond to, and fortify their organizations against corruption and ensure integrity. Although this issue originated with the Toronto Police Service, we have since learned that other organizations may be impacted. And in any event, incidents like these understandably shake public trust in policing more broadly. It's important to acknowledge the real questions the public is asking and the potential effect these questions may have on their confidence in Ontario's policing system.
Now, I don't know how much of your confidence in Ontario's policing system has been shaken by this particular case. I look at it more as an isolated Toronto event, but the fact that this probe will be conducted province-wide, and it's worth noting there have been reports already that both Waterloo Regional and Guelph police services are welcoming the investigation. That's, I think, the kind of language that you would expect at this early stage. And I'm not worried that anything will be uncovered here. But a lot of this can be operational, right? How many direct reports do you have as a supervisor? And I don't know how all the rankings work, but if you're a sergeant or a staff sergeant, whatever, the more people you have reporting to you, right, the wider spread your job or the more thinly spread you are as a manager, obviously, the greater the possibility of somebody within that net getting involved in something that you are unaware of because you've got too much on your plate. So I think those sorts of things operationally will be looked at and will determine if we're doing things in a way that can prevent more such incidents, the likes of which we've seen in Toronto, happening elsewhere. But I think it's fair to say that this does shake our confidence, and every police officer, unfortunately, is impacted by what happened in Toronto. I'm going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then let's talk about outdoor enthusiasts. At this time of year, people still love being outdoors. I'm not one of those people, but people are still out there doing their thing. If that thing is tobogganing, should you put on a helmet? We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. A recent study by Hamilton Health Sciences has found that head injuries are the most common sledding injury seen by McMaster Children's Hospital's emergency department. Dr. April Cam is the division head of pediatric emergency medicine at McMaster Children's Hospital and joins us for the conversation. April, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Not bad.
Glad to hear it. What led to this research looking into injuries suffered while tobogganing?
We were just seeing a lot of sledding injuries with various types, with kids coming in with head injuries, abdominal injuries, and just a high volume of them. And so we were curious as to whether there was an increased number of that presenting to our ED during the pandemic. And so, we looked into it, and that is what we found.
Do we look at the severity of these injuries as well, particularly when it comes to the head? Are we talking concussions? How severe is this head trauma?
It's definitely variable. One thing that is consistent pre-pandemic during pandemic and post-pandemic is that the head is the most common site of injury. And yes, it ranges from, a concussion to more severe bleeds in the brain.
So I'm a man of a certain age, Dr. Cam, and when I was a kid, I mean, the faster you could go and the steeper the hill, the better. The number one warning for us as kids was just don't toboggan near any trees. And we had some great hills near the house, and there were no trees within 100 yards of us. But I'm thinking that perhaps what we're seeing here is not necessarily, tobogganers or sledders running willy-nilly into trees here. These injuries can be suffered because of hard-packed snow, speeds traveled, that sort of thing?
Yes. We are actually also seeing sledders, tobogganers going into trees, and going to trees, going to roads, but also, like you said, into hard-packed snow, into hay bales that were meant to, cushion, but like in freezing cold, it's ice, so you're being cushioned by ice, right? So yes, just like probably back in your day, maybe kids and adults weren't wearing helmets when skiing or snowboarding. I'm not sure how old you are, but these days it's normal to be wearing helmets, regardless of how old you are. Same with bike riding. So we'd like to see that as well for tobogganing. Yeah.
So I'll fess up. I turned 55 this year. So yes, bicycle helmets, and I rode my bicycle a lot when I was a kid, and there was no such thing. We didn't even talk about it, quite frankly. And so I guess the outcome of this research is suggesting that perhaps we normalize helmets while tobogganing, just like we have while riding bicycles, skateboarding, etc.
Skiing, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you have less control as you're careening down a steep hill, than you would when you're bike riding or skiing or snowboarding. So, and as the injury patterns are very similar to all those activities, it just makes sense to wear a properly fitting helmet.
So would this be something similar to what we would wear for bicycling?
I would say it's more similar to what you'd wear for skiing or playing hockey. So hockey helmets, ski helmets are more appropriate. Bike helmets theoretically are, if you fall and hit your head, it's a one-time, you're supposed to switch it out. So the more appropriate helmet would be, like I said, a hockey helmet or a skiing or snowboarding helmet.
How, Dr. Cam, do we go about normalizing this behavior then? Do we need legislative change? Is it just conversations like this to let parents and maybe slightly older kids, tweens, adolescents know the risks they're facing?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. I think normalizing it, parental expectation, it just being, just part of the culture. That if you see everyone kind of wearing it, you don't think about it, right? Like it's odd to see someone not with a ski helmet or a bike helmet. You think, you look at them twice, you wonder about their caregiver, stuff like that. So it's just sort of making sure that peer pressure in a positive way, and absolutely legislation potentially, or on designated toboggan hills. The recommendation is there as well. So I think it's just everyone doing their part to make sure kids are having fun, teens are having fun outdoors in the winter, which is an amazing thing. We want to see people active outdoors, playing, sledding, and just doing that in the safest way possible.
I'm glad you mentioned that in the last part there about the importance, really, still, despite the weather, be outside, enjoy these winter activities. And you're not here with me this morning saying no more tobogganing. You're not anti-sledding.
No, not at all. Yeah, go outside, go outdoors, get off your screen. Skate, snowboard, toboggan down a hill, wear a helmet. Avoid the trees.
That, in a nutshell, is what it's all about. Dr. Cam, I appreciate the time on the show this morning. Thank you for being here.
No worries. Take care. Have a good day.
You too. Bye now. Dr. April Cam, Division Head of Pediatric Emergency Medicine at McMaster Children's Hospital led this research into the injuries that were presenting at the emergency department of McMaster Children's Hospital. This dates back to pandemic times when more and more of these injuries were being presented. The study reveals that most of the injuries are head injuries, particularly for younger children. The older children and even some of the young adults ended up with more abdominal injuries. But the head injuries were the most common, trending up, not a ton, but trending up year over year. And so they thought, well, what can we do to protect against this? So if you break it down by year, in 2018 at McMaster Children's Hospital, they saw 13 toboggan-related injuries. 13 in 2018. A year later, it was 30. And then in 2021, we jumped up to 105, dropped to 64 in 2022. And overall, what the research found was there were 62 injuries before the pandemic, tripling to 187 post-pandemic. So significant enough. And the other thing is, I don't know, when you talk about 187 injuries, in the grand scope of a population, that's not a ton, but what is it percentage-wise compared to the number of people who are actually still out tobogganing? Because I'm not sure we see that as much as we used to. I couldn't help when I read this story think back to the day not too many years ago, and I'm sorry, I should have looked it up, but I bet you remember too, when all of a sudden McLennan Park, the great hill there that we've all enjoyed for so long, suddenly had hay bales up that basically prevented the long, exciting tobogganing run that we had long enjoyed. And we got into the big, and it just happened. It was kind of an overnight thing. And obviously it was a cautionary exercise on the part of the city of Kitchener. And we all had the discussion then around just posting a sign that says use the hill at your own risk, much like I've seen on trails across the community in the wintertime. No winter maintenance on this trail. You're using it at your own risk. I would assume that absolves the municipality of any liability for any trip, fall, sprain, whatever I might incur while I'm using that trail. I don't know. I would like to think it's the same thing for a tobogganing hill, right? You're going out there, you're using the hill at your own risk, and that's that. We had two favorites when I was a kid at nearby schools. There was the closest one to our home, right near the Odd, when I was a kid, at Knollwood Park, which is the park in behind Shepherd School. It wasn't the biggest hill, but it was plenty fun. And then, of course, if we really wanted to have a good time, we'd make our way down to Cameron Heights, and there was a massive, steeper hill there. And you could even get a little jump going partway down. And we used to use that one. I tried, when I was walking by with Rosie the pandemic pup the other day, I tried getting a look to see how much of that hill, if anything, still exists in a useful way for tobogganing. But I couldn't quite get a good sense of it when I was walking by. So I don't know how much time you spend on these hills with your kids. If you ever send your kids out with their crazy carpet or their GT racer or whatever it is we're using, their saucers for sledding these days, maybe still that old wooden toboggan, because they can get going. If you've got the right hill and you tuck that rope inside properly, you're raring to go on the toboggan. What do you think of the idea of normalizing helmet use on the tobogganing hill? Again, I grew up in an era where it wasn't even considered. I grew up in an era where we would go skating on the lake, quote unquote, at Victoria Park. And we didn't wear helmets there either. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Is it time that we normalized helmet use when we go tobogganing? Let me know your thoughts on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
It's definitely variable. One thing that is consistent pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and post-pandemic is that the head is the most common site of injury. And yes, it ranges from a concussion to more severe bleeds in the brain.
That is Dr. April Kam, Division Head of Pediatric Emergency Medicine at McMaster Children's Hospital, who conducted research to determine the extent and or number of injuries related to tobogganing. This research just published, and you hear a bit of that conversation right there. Dr. Kam would like to see us normalize the use of helmets when we go tobogganing. That snow can be light and fluffy and lovely until we start packing it down with toboggan after toboggan after toboggan after toboggan, and then it becomes harder packed and perhaps more dangerous. And here we are in a new era where we're always talking about knowing more and doing better. What do you think of the idea of normalizing helmet use for tobogganers? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. George from Cambridge, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. I sure wish we had this awareness back in the 70s when I was tobogganing. I grew up in the Credit Valley area where there's so many great hills for tobogganing, and so many kids would hit a big rock or a tree or flip off their toboggan and get hurt. And we're always told, go shake it off. Just go shake it off. You're going to be okay. And I wish we had more of this concern with helmets protect our head.
Yeah, George, it's a great point. How many times when we were kids did we get our bell rung, as we would call it? I remember one time in a game of soccer, and I went so hard into the goal post of the net that, I remember kind of seeing stars. I was it was crazy. And the same thing was just, shake it off, get back out there, start running around again. You'll be fine. Maybe it explains a lot at this stage of my life. I don't know, but it's much different times then than it is now. Terry, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Actually, this is a great topic. I've often thought about this. Do you know that the most dangerous place where most accidents happen is inside your home? You can fall in the bathtub, fall down steps. So why don't we just why not make everybody wear a helmet? Even if you go, once you're in your home, you can wear a helmet, unless you're sitting on your couch watching TV. But then you can get hit by a lamppost too, right? So I don't know, Mike. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, but in fairness, and you remind me of our late great friend Jeff Allen, who he liked to say, "Life sucks, get a helmet." Because, for the very point you're talking about, Terry, there's danger lurking everywhere. But in this particular case, we are inviting a certain level of risk, by hurdling down a hill on a piece of plastic or a piece of wood, right?
Yeah, I could also get hit by a falling piano walking down the sidewalk. I don't know, Mike. I enjoy my motorcycle, you know that. But when I go over the border, the helmet comes off right away because it's just a lot more fun. And I'm still, Mike, I'm in my 60s now, and I'm still kicking. And I never wore a helmet riding a bicycle or tobogganing. I used to play rec hockey, too, back when I was in my early 20s. And I didn't even wear a helmet back then. So, I'm sure I got concussions over the years because I used to see a lot of stars. I just thought that was nothing until someone in my later years said, oh, that actually is a concussion. I go, well, I probably had my share of them. But if you feel comfortable wearing a helmet doing these events, yeah, the more power to you. But I think it's crazy to legislate it anyway. Mike, that's my thought on it. Thank you, sir. All
right, Terry, thanks for weighing in on it. And look, I get it. And it's funny when it comes to motorcycling because I'm a motorcycle enthusiast myself. And I have on occasion, I remember just one day last summer, moved my bike from my driveway over to my neighbor's. I don't know what I was doing that I needed the bike out of the way. But anyway, and of course I just sat on it and moved it 2 doors down and I didn't throw my helmet on for that. And it feels so weird. But I have often said that if we're being honest, the helmet really, especially at highway speeds, it's only going to keep your head intact, isn't it? It's not saving you from nothing. So you want to go no helmet or somehow, I don't know. But in this case, again, we are inviting a certain level of risk into our lives when we are tobogganing. And we certainly know more today about the impact of trauma to our head. Terry says he's probably had a number of concussions. And, He's still kicking, which is fair. But is there any degradation in the quality of life that you might not even have noticed based on those concussions? Who the heck knows? I can't say for sure unless we had some sort of baseline testing done with Terry at various points in his life before he incurred these head injuries. Shane is also with us, Farwell's Force, member number 228. Good morning, Shane.
Good morning, Mr. Mike. How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. I became a grandpa over the weekend.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yep. I understand where everybody's coming from, but one thing I'm curious on is we're hitting immovable objects, or are we hitting other people as we're going down these slides, these hills? I've been to Mount Trashmore many times with my kids post-pandemic as well as pre-pandemic. During the pandemic, we saw more kids than any other time because what are you going to do during the pandemic? Get outside, get some fresh air, throw the kids on a toboggan, let them go down a hill. 9 times out of 10, if you're going to crash into anybody down there, you're either going to hit the fence at the very bottom, which kudos to the city for, trying to take care of that. Other than that, it's a straight shot down the hill. You might hit another kid coming up. So here's a thought. Rather than putting helmets on these kids, we know high schoolers need a lot of volunteer hours in order to graduate. We seem to have a lot of kids that do lifeguarding during the summer at various pools. We have rink rats when we were, kids ice skating around the local rink. Why don't we have some of these kids be trained in how to, maybe slowing the hill down a little bit? How about we don't jump on a toboggan when we see somebody trying to walk up the hill? We can have these kids there doing that and just trying to say, you know what, hang on a minute, don't go down the hill yet. Let's just wait. I mean, when we were kids, we went down hills that were loaded up with kids, trees at the bottom, rocks at the bottom. We were from the day where my dad used to tie us on a toboggan to the back of the car and go scooting through the parking lot. So it just, maybe parents need to be a little more responsible. I don't want to say control your kids, but just try and, be a little more responsible and say, you know what, hey, Billy, hang on a second. There's somebody trying to come up the hill or get out of the way. That's my thought.
Okay, Shane, appreciate the thought. So maybe some toboggan marshals, some toboggan hill marshals to help keep those using the hill, using it in a safe manner. I get it. See, the thing about this is I think back, I'm obviously of a similar vintage to Shane, of all the things that we did in Terry talking about doing this, doing that. But we look at cycling now and helmets are commonplace. Hockey, right? We weren't wearing helmets in hockey into the 1980s for crying out loud. So now it's bizarre to see a hockey player without a helmet. You don't see it except on the very occasional time in a charity thing or a warm-up or whatever. So if we start to normalize it, and frankly, again, we are inviting a certain level of risk when we go hurtling down a hill where other people and or objects are around. I'm not opposed to it out of hand. Nobody is saying stop tobogganing. They're just saying, hey, we're seeing a lot of head injuries. We know a few things about those head injuries. Why don't we put something on to protect our heads when we're going down the tobogganing hill? You never know. I'm going to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then let's talk about the water governance in our region and where things are at. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As I'm sure you have heard, our region is going to very quickly spend $15 million in an effort to quickly make some improvements to our water system. Could add flow of 50 liters per second, if I remember the numbers correctly. Some temporary containers that will allow the region to draw more water from and draw it more quickly from the Grand River. One of these containers can be in place later this year, the other two coming online next year. There was an urgency attached to the movement on this, so council arranged a meeting last Friday, a special council meeting at the region, and boom, they made the decision, $15 million. All of this, of course, is connected to our ongoing water woes, something we learned about very suddenly almost 2 months ago now, where it was announced that, hang on a second, we got to press pause on development here in the region because we do not have enough water to support it. The water quality is fine, the quantity not so much. And I know you know all of this, but just by way of background, as we welcome Julie Wright to the show. You probably know Julie's name as a councillor in the city of Waterloo, where she represents Ward 7. But Julie is also the National Director of Our Living Waters and a part of the Canadian Water Coalition. So as a broader context here as she joins the show this morning. Julie, good morning.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on today, Mike.
Well, thanks so much for making the time. I really do appreciate it. And just in the context of this conversation, moving away from a municipal councillor, can you tell me more about Our Living Waters, where you are the national director?
Yeah, we're a network of 300 organizations and water champions from across Canada. And we're really working to collectively have a voice for water in our environment. And also to, stay in greater alignment. The governance of water is very local all across Canada. So that makes it kind of a fragmented management of water. And so it's really hard to get a higher level picture of the health of water. And that's really what our role is.
And so is that to say perhaps then we should have an umbrella water organization, provincially and or federally, as opposed to this hodgepodge of local water governance management?
That is a really great question. So we, first of all, do have a brand new Canada Water Agency. It came into effect in the fall of 2024, and they've just gotten started rolling out various different programs, including a national water data strategy. And so that is really critical because you don't really know what's going on with water without really good data. So we're really looking forward to that. And without that kind of data infrastructure for water, it's hard to create an accountability structure for water because, like I said, it's managed locally, it's really fragmented. In Ontario, I have to say that our conservation authorities have been the envy of every other province and territory in Canada. What we have had has prevented massive flood events, just the way that we created flood defenses through our conservation authorities. And water management generally in Ontario has been a strong point. So I don't really have an opinion at the moment on the amalgamation of the conservation authorities because I do think that there's great contextual value in how we manage things at the Grand River Conservation Authority and, there are similar organizations across Ontario. But there's definitely always room for improvement in terms of the backbones of those organizations and how they work together more efficiently.
So when you heard, Julie, the news from the region, I mean, it's great that the National Director of Our Living Waters is right here in the region. And when you heard the news that, whoa, hang on a second, we've suddenly found ourselves a little water issue here, what went through your mind, through the lens, of course, of our Living Waters?
Yeah, well, this one was definitely not on my bingo card. Just, straight up, not on my bingo card. I think we've grown up in a culture here where water, because we rely on groundwater, we've been very careful with it over the years. And, I went to Elmira District Secondary School, and I was there when the water crisis unfolded back in the late 80s, early 90s. And, so I think as a community, we've seen what can happen when your water is threatened. And so, in the broader context of Canada, water security has become a massive issue. And so just to take a step back, water security relies on three really critical things. And there are some global definitions for it. We don't have a common definition for water security in Canada, I think in part because water has been so available to us. So here's the three things. We have to have water quality, we have to have water quantity, and we have to have water availability. And I would say that our current issue is the water availability issue. You can have water all around you, but if you can't access it to use it, then you have a water availability crisis.
When we have, I think that sounds like what we're dealing with right here, because we've been told the quality is fine, the quantity is insufficient currently. I mean, when we talk about water security, Julie, do we need to also talk about then the demand placed on that water when we look at this region and the possibility of growing to 1 million people? How do we balance that with our water security?
We should be looking at Calgary. And I say that because I lived in Calgary for 6 years in the early 2000s, just as it got to 1 million people. And Calgary is a community that routinely experiences multi-year droughts. I think this year they're probably heading into another really, really tough year. They've invested in aggressive water conservation efforts. So even though, they hit 1 million people in 2004, I think, and in the last 22 years, they're almost ready to double their population. They're approaching 2 million people now. But they've managed their water in a way that they've been able to do that responsibly. I mean, we hear about Calgary in the news because they've got some infrastructure issues with water mains. They have the same, like every community across Canada is dealing with these same failures in infrastructure because we didn't make certain kinds of investments at certain water infrastructure is really expensive. And we just don't like paying for it. The federal government doesn't like paying for it. The provincial government doesn't like paying for it. And municipal governments are barely able to pay for it.
What would you like to see the region do? What advice would you offer as we try to move forward in the crisis that we're currently having?
So I think number one is we really do need to get serious about conservation efforts. We had a little hint of what was coming our way back in the summer of 2024. The region shut down one of the trunks that supplies 20% of our local drinking water, and they shut it down for a week. And when they were doing those emergency repairs, they were asking us all and they asked very politely for us to reduce our water use. And I don't think there was even a blip in the data. So both Kitchener and Waterloo have water utilities, so we can look at that data and kind of see what's happening at any given time. We had a massive population surge in 2023, 2024. I think Waterloo specifically grew about 38% in population. We absolutely have to think about water conservation. We just need to be ready. There's too many variables in the system for us to rely on everything working business as usual. And then you have to factor in all the other aspects of, climate change. You've got drought that can potentially happen. You could have too much water that takes out a pumping station. There's just all these variables, and we need, as a community, we need to be really resilient. So, yeah, I definitely think we've got to get very serious about water conservation.
As an aside, Julie, but absolutely related, and I know you and I are of a like mind on this, I can't help but think of all of the talk this winter when it comes to road maintenance specifically and the salt shortage. The amount of salt that we have used historically has always been a source of frustration for me because I know the environmental impacts of it. But how does the amount of salt we use affect the water supply that we are trying to protect?
So the salt runs off of any hard surface and enters our stormwater system or is absorbed in the ground. And so what we are seeing is contamination of groundwater. Groundwater is getting saltier. And we're also seeing, very specifically, our stormwater ponds eventually get to the point where you've got to muck them out because the layer at the bottom of the pond is completely toxic. So salt is toxic. That's just in the concentration that we're talking about. It can really have a big effect on our local waterways, which is an all-year problem. So we're basically overusing salt in the wintertime and then having to deal with it the rest of the year.
And I can't help but think this is something, much like your point on conservation, if I can bring it back to that, but something that's very much in our control. We can we can choose to use less, can't we?
Oh, yeah, we can. And, so basically a cup full of salt is enough to do your entire driveway or 3 parking spaces, I think is sort of the general measure. This region was the pioneer of the Smart About Salt program, and that's something that we definitely want to scale up provincially and see more people more educated about the impacts of salt and just using way less. I think this region specifically, has a strong culture of it was born on farmers basically, and so farmers don't waste anything. We need to get back to that mentality. Let's just be a little more judicious about the things that we're doing and not, always be in excess.
Julie, I really appreciate the time on the show today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Julie Wright is the Ward 7 councillor in Waterloo, and she also happens to be the national director of Our Living Waters. Multiple organizations under that umbrella trying to create and or protect the water sources that we have clear across this country. That last point, boy, oh boy, does that ever resonate with me, talking about farmers, and they don't waste anything, and getting kind of back to those roots. That is my great-grandmother, was my great-grandmother Matilda Schultz. Let me tell you, that woman, like in the kitchen, not one thing ever got wasted. So many other things. Socks were darned, pants were patched, you name it. There was not an ounce, not a kernel of corn or a grain of salt was ever wasted in that house. It still sticks with me to this day, and it was my great-grandmother that I will always reference when it comes to waste not, want not, an ounce of prevention, all these different things. But she lived that life. She modeled that behavior, that nothing is irredeemable, I suppose, and everything had a purpose or a repurpose, you name it. Look, we've talked about the salt issue on numerous occasions, and we all understand that with less salt, there is greater risk of liability. So we know why we overuse salt, and we do. You know it as well as I know it, but we get it because of the circumstances that legislation allows for when it comes to slips, falls. I would presume perhaps even crashes. I don't know, but we overuse salt. Full stop. I wish that we would do things differently and sort of recalibrate our expectations when it comes to roads in the wintertime. Again, I will just cite my trips up north with the hockey club and the amount of sand that you see on every road. There's rarely a bare, dry road up north. And I know conditions are different, temperatures are different, etc. But I think we could really retrain drivers in southern Ontario to deal with a little bit more snow on the roads. But that's a bit of an aside. To Julie's point about the issue that we're having with water, and we haven't had the conversation from this angle on the show before. What about true conservation efforts? What about just using less? Are there things that you're already doing at home to conserve water? Are there things that you think you could do or we as a community should do to conserve water? I rarely think, no, I shouldn't say that. Because having been involved with the Children's Groundwater Festival many, many years ago, I actually think quite often about the water that's coming out of my tap. But even still, I think I do sort of take it for granted, right? You turn on the tap, it's there. Is it time for us to get serious about water conservation in this region? Would love to get your thoughts on that. Phone lines are always open to you on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Water security relies on three really critical things. So here's the three things. We have to have water quality, we have to have water quantity, and we have to have water availability. And I would say that our current issue is the water availability issue. You can have water all around you, but if you can't access it to use it, then you have a water availability crisis.
Do we ever? And that's why the freeze remains on development, at least at the regional level. Cities say, at least Kitchener has, that they will continue moving ahead with plans to build, but the region's going to need to sign off as well, and this has created quite the problem. It's made national headlines in the last many days, this availability crisis we're having. We have quality of water in this community, but the availability of it right now is in question. That was Julie Wright, who's the Ward 7 councillor in the city of Waterloo and the national director of Our Living Waters. And she is advocating strongly for greater conservation efforts here in the region. And I'm taken back to the time when lawn watering bans, flat out, full stop, thou shalt not pass go, thou shalt not collect 200, thou shalt not water one's lawn. Full-fledged. And I'm sorry that I can't remember, like 40 years ago? What I do remember is this, because we were in the midst of one, a lawn watering ban, because the conditions were such that the region wanted us to conserve. And I was out walking late one night, which I used to do a lot of, oddly enough, just by myself. So I'm going to say I was a teen. So that's why I'm putting it 40-ish, 35 to 40 years ago. And I remember going past a house on Weber Street in Kitchener, and it was late. This was night, like well after 10 o'clock, maybe even 11, I don't know. But they were running their sprinkler then, kind of under cover of darkness. And I remember getting so upset about this. I'm like, hey, like, what are you doing? We've got a lawn watering ban on right now. And I was a kid who made money walking around mowing lawns in the neighborhood. Well, when we were in the midst of a lawn watering ban because conditions warranted, you can imagine how much business I had mowing lawns. Very little, because the lawns had all dried up. But then I'm looking at this, well, I was going to say this guy, I don't know, this household that had their sprinkler running at night so they could water under the cover of darkness. And, you know, those bans have really stuck with me to this day, even though I spent many years and made some great money when I was a student, really helped to pay the tuition bills, let me tell you, doing landscaping. I'm fond of the lush green lawns and all of the different things, but at this stage of my life, I can tell you with utmost certainty, I could not possibly care less. The pendulum has swung right to the other side for me. I still love the look of a lush green lawn and all this different stuff, but do I care that I have one out front my house? No, I do not. I will never walk. For me, it's just something that I'm not particularly interested in. It does not matter. Whatever nature gives the grass can use. Anything else, forget about it. So if that constitutes water conservation at the Farwell household, I guess we're already on that track. But things get even, deeper than that, if you will. You think about what Calgary was going through with their infrastructure problems, and they're being encouraged to take 3-minute showers. I'll tell you what, the luxury of a nice hot shower is not lost on me, and I probably could do better in that department. Then there's the whole thing about brushing your teeth and turning the water off while you're brushing and turning it back on to rinse. Those little things, right? How full your dishwasher is, I suppose. Lots of little things. But Julie Wright, the national director of Our Living Waters, says the time is here for some serious water conservation efforts. The time for us is to the 570 News Center for an update. And then Dawn Cameron Potato Night. It's tonight, and we'll talk to the organization that benefits from it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As you have been hearing throughout the day so far on 570 News Radio, tonight is Don Cameron Potato Night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. This is a long-standing tradition and partnership between the Kitchener Rangers and our House of Friendship in Kitchener. Don Cameron, as you know, the voice of the Kitchener Rangers from 1963 right through 2018. Don had a connection to every Rangers team from the team's inception back in 63 until his passing in 2018. And I don't know if you knew this, but we lost Don in June of 2018. That 2017-2018 season for the Kitchener Rangers was a memorable one. The team went to the Western Conference Final, Game 7 versus the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, ultimately losing in double overtime. Game 6 of that series was the last game the Rangers won in that playoff in that season, because obviously they went on to lose Game 7 to Sault Ste. Marie in the Soo. But on home ice, it was a Sunday afternoon, Game 6, Cole Sherwood, the overtime winner for the Rangers in that game, and Don Cameron was calling that game. He filled in for me. Don, by this point, had stepped away. He never said retired, but he stepped away from the regular duties, and I was at a charity event, and Don stepped in for me. And as it turns out, the very last win of that Rangers season, Don called the game. We go to the Soo the next day where the Rangers lose. Don passes that summer. But the year that he passes, he calls the final Rangers victory of that season. I've always enjoyed that little story connected to the man who will always be the voice of the Kitchener Rangers. And so his name remains on Potato Night. Why? Because he's a proud Prince Edward Islander, and he was more than happy to get behind this initiative. The CEO of the House of Friendship is Jennifer Scott, and she joins us now to talk more about Don Cameron Potato Night. And why don't we start, Jen, with what this means for the House of Friendship?
Well, we're really excited for the Don Cameron Potato Night. We are celebrating tonight the 29th annual Potato Night. So for those who are new to the community or may not be familiar, the Don Cameron Potato Night is a long-standing community tradition that invites fans to support local families in need by donating potatoes or cash upon entry to the Rangers game tonight, with all proceeds benefiting House of Friendship. So we really are encouraging, and what this means to House of Friendship is that we're encouraging everyone listening to come out to the game tonight to support this event. The initiative is founded by Don Cameron, who I've never met, but Mike, you have. And I wonder if you can share who Don Cameron is.
Well, I mean, how much time do we have, Jen? Because
just a few minutes.
the stories I could tell about this man who I was so fortunate to have become a friend later in life. So growing up, of course, in the city of Kitchener and being a Rangers fan, every time the Rangers were on the road, I was listening to Don Cameron call the games, and I was completely and utterly captivated by the sounds that I heard, the way he called a game. And then when I got into broadcasting and started trying to find my own way, Don was a tremendous resource for me early on. He was so gracious to me through all of the years, and him as a person, he just taught me so much about how to carry yourself, how to be a professional. He was always a gentleman, and he was so proud, and specific to this Potato Night, he was so proud of his Prince Edward Island roots. And everywhere we went that there was another Islander, they would have stories to share, and just a very proud PEI native. And of course, we know the connection between Prince Edward Island and potatoes, and any way that Don could give back, he would. Giving back with a connection to his native PEI was the perfect combination for him. So he was everything that I could possibly have hoped for in a friend and mentor.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I never had the chance to meet him, but really his legacy lives on in this initiative. And this Don Cameron Potato Night is a great way for the community to come together to support their neighbors in need.
It actually, speaking of those stories that Don would always share with a fellow Prince Edward Islander. It was a fellow Maritimer in Darcy Harris who was here with the Rangers back in the mid-1990s that got this potato night off the ground. And Jen, it occurs to me there's something just so significant about this simple potato. There's something to that, I think, that makes this, this effort and this fundraiser that much more poignant in the community.
Yeah, potatoes, for a lot of people, potatoes are a staple food item. In Waterloo Region, 1 in 9 households rely on food assistance. So people just do not have enough income to purchase the food that they need. So the donations, the potatoes, and the cash that are raised tonight will go to families in need. The potato night really has evolved, though, over the past few years. Historically, at this time of year, we would collect primarily potatoes. Generally, at this time of year, we would collect 60,000 pounds of potatoes, which I don't know if you've seen 60,000 pounds of potatoes, but I have. And that's like 30 skips. It's a lot of potatoes. So it was a lot of packing the potatoes, moving them into cold storage, and then we would have to distribute 60,000 pounds of potatoes in the next month or two so they would remain fresh. So what we realized, and as the community has shifted, and we've heard more from people in the community, having this many potatoes at one time was just not sustainable, as we need food all year round. So in addition, the Kitchener-Waterloo community has grown in size and diversity, and the needs of the community are shifting. So our food programs had less of a need for the potato that were staple items for many people. And now, really, as the diversity of the community is changing, there's other food needs as well. So while we will be collecting potatoes at the game tonight, and that always was the legacy that Don Cameron had, most importantly, we are collecting cash as well. So cash donations collected at the game tonight will provide flexibility to ensure that we can meet the ongoing needs of people in the community all year round.
So for folks coming to the game tonight, Jen, will we find volunteers around the arena? Is there a specific place? How can we make a donation, whether it be potatoes or a cash donation?
We will have volunteers all around the arena tonight. We will also have our potato mascot, Spuddy. So if you can find Spuddy, you can take a picture with him. He's quite cute. So there will be people around the auditorium tonight to collect donations. As well, we know that online donations are often easier for folks. So those can be done online at houseoffriendship.org. So anyone who's coming tonight, we would welcome and would hope to engage with you. And I hope you can find Spuddy when you're there. And for everyone else, donating online works perfectly as well.
Don was always famous for saying you can bring some potatoes with you or you can bring the cash because the paper money is a lot lighter to carry. So, yes, make that online donation.
It's a lot lighter.
It is, exactly. Make the online donation, make a donation in person while we're there tonight. And just a note, Jen, on the partnership with the Kitchener Rangers. We know it's a community-owned club, and I think that the organization has never forgotten its roots in supporting organizations like the House of Friendship.
Yeah, they've been tremendous. They're such great folks to work with. You know, they've advertised and shared this event, and it's just a great partnership and a really great community event. People coming together to support their neighbors.
Looking forward to seeing you at the game tonight, Jen. Thank you so much for doing this with us this morning.
Thank you. We'll see you tonight.
Jennifer Scott is the CEO at the House of Friendship, the organization that benefits from the annual Don Cameron Potato Night. The 29th annual is tonight. Bring potatoes if you so choose. Make a donation and let the House of Friendship help spread that through the community as we support through this night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium the emergency food needs in our community. I don't think it's an accident that it's happening on a night where the Kitchener Rangers are playing the London Knights. It's sure to be a big crowd. And when Jen was talking about Spuddy, the mascot, yes, he is cute. Get those pictures, post them on social media. I'll try to do my best to do the same. But it just reminded me of another Don Cameron Night story featuring Don himself, because he really was invested in this. It wasn't just Don's name on the campaign. He would help out. And so the volunteers, and this goes back to, when there were a lot more potatoes being collected, but the volunteers would wear these burlap kind of vests because of the bigger bags of potatoes, right, and a bit of a burlap sack. So Don gets out there before the game, and he's got his burlap vest on, and they gave him a name tag. Don Cameron, the man whose night it was, the potato night. It's the Don Cameron Potato Night. Don's at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Like, anybody walking into that building did not know who he was. And there he was. He took the name tag. Hello, my name is Don. Put on his burlap vest and collected potatoes. Don Cameron Potato Night. That's why we call him the legend. He cringed at that, but my goodness, 55 years, more than 4,000 games called, and Don Cameron Potato Night lives on tonight at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Please help the House of Friendship in whichever way is best for you. Bring the potatoes, make the donation. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk sports. Waterloo Region is already ready for its 10th luncheon. Early March. Let's hope we're into more spring-like weather by then, but this is one that I know you are going to want to be a part of. The guests, well, I'm sure they will be of interest. We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is called Let's Talk Sports WR for, of course, Waterloo Region. I think it would be fair to say it's kind of a follow-through from the Kitchener Sports Association as that got sunsetted, but still there is lots to talk about when it comes to sports in this community, and the Let's Talk Sports Waterloo Region lunches are very much a part of that. John Thompson, one of the founding members of Let's Talk Sports WR, in studio with me. Good morning, John.
Hi, Mike. Thanks.
Good to see you as always. And he brings with him, I mean, this guy's one of the best. I'm going to say it right to his face. Joe Birch, Chief Operating Officer for the Kitchener Rangers. Birchie, good morning.
Well, thank you, Mike, for having me. It's great to be here. And John, I appreciate the invite to help to support your program.
Good. Thanks for showing up early in the morning.
John, let's start with Let's Talk Sports WR. Just as an overview, I hope I got most of that right, but how did this all get started and why?
Well, it started about 2 years ago. You're correct with the sunsetting of Kitchener Sports Association after, I think it was 80 years. It was amazing, right after the World War II. Larry Lynch and a few others we got together and said, we're missing something here. We love those monthly KSA meetings when we would have topical sports, often around hockey, but embracing a lot of different sports and just learning more about it, and a great networking opportunity for sports enthusiasts in our community. So ironically, it was 2 years ago in March of 2024, I guess, where we had our first one. And it was involving the Rangers as well. And Coach Jussi was relatively new to the community, and we said we better grab him while we can. We don't know how long he's going to be here, and we're so glad that he's here and going to be highlighting our next luncheon, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Okay. And Joe, you mentioned to John, thanks for including you to help support this initiative, which strikes me as something that the Kitchener Rangers have always done. I mean, it's a community-owned team and invested in the community. Tonight's Don Cameron Potato Night. You're supporting Let's Talk Sports WR. This is really part of the key mission of the club, is it not?
100%. One of our critical pillars is community. And if we don't support the community by utilizing our platform that we have, which is, Friday nights and Sunday afternoons in the cathedral with 7,000 fans, but we are far reaching than that with our social platforms and the presence that our players bring within the community and our staff members. And so if we can help other great community members tell stories or support initiatives like House of Friendship or CMHA or, your the work that you do, Mike, in the month of May, what are we doing? And we need to be able to be supportive that way and use our power and our strength to support great community initiatives that are great for sport, they're great for storytelling, they're great for history. I mean, KSA nearly helped to build the Odd, or funded to help build the Odd such a long time ago. So it's important for us to be engaged and be part of it.
Speaking of the charitable endeavor that I do every spring and how supportive, I mean, it goes back so many years, how supportive the Rangers have been, but Any issues at all with the lighting in the offices or the dressing room, Joe? Because I may have been installing some of those switches during the campaign last
I'm going to knock on wood. So far, the lights have stayed on.
Okay, that's good. See?
So you've done a great job.
Conestoga Electric taught me very well. That was great.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I was under very close supervision, trust me.
I know.
They don't just hand power tools out willy-nilly to a schmuck like me.
They certainly don't give them to me. So.
John, let's talk about the luncheon coming up. March the 3rd, I believe, is the day.
Yeah, Tuesday, March 3rd is going to be luncheon number 10, and we're so pleased to have Rangers on-ice leadership, GM Mike McKenzie, and Coach UC will be there as our guests, and rather than just let them go on their own little path, we have Gary Doyle to moderate and have a conversation. And I think the fans who come out to these really enjoy that because, as Gary says, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll ask a question or two, and we'll have a conversation, and we'll go from there. And it takes a lot of the pressure off your guest speakers, so they don't have to say, well, what am I going to talk about today? Gary is so good at leading them down a very interesting path and engaging the audience as well. And we have a Q&A as well to wrap it up.
One thing that you'll find in a setting like this is that UC Ahokas, who does a lot of media interviews as part of his work here, but in a setting like that, you'll be surprised at how much he opens up and the things that he's got to say. Really interesting guy, and man, does he know the game of hockey.
I guess we'll have to schedule that around his daily runs. I often hear you talk about his runs, and so this is noon hour. So hopefully, he'll be there to join us for sure. Doors open at 12:30, lunch at 1, and then we'll get right into the program with Mike and UC and Gary Doyle. So we look forward to that. Invitations will be going out tomorrow, and I think it's going to sell out in about 5 days. So. If you get an invitation, you want to come, be sure to respond right away.
Yeah, act quickly for sure. And yes, UC Ahokas, even when we're on the road, likes to get out for his 5 or 6K run before the game. Man's a bit of a freak. Joe, as far as the team goes, we talked about community. That's one of the key pillars for sure. On the ice, though, you're always looking for success. And boy, oh boy, are you on the right path this year?
Yes, we are, and that's a great testament to the leadership of Mike and UC and Jeff and Brad and Jordan and Brandon, our whole coaching staff, Danny, Nick. There's a real collective group there that also receives tremendous support from our business staff that allow them to operate at the highest level and perform. But what's driving it? It's the players. And we have an incredibly talented coaching staff, but the players have really bought in. And there was a point this year, sometime around the end of November, that we could have made a pivot and a path to go one way or the other after we received some pretty hard news. But to the credit of the players and to the credit of the staff, they rallied together, have stuck together. Mike has made some incredible trades in bolstering our lineup, and certainly the acquisition of Matthew Andonovski returning from Belleville. All of a sudden, we're looking at a team that is really, really special. And I'm fortunate enough to be around that dressing room at times on a daily basis, and you can feel a buzz and a care that they each have for each other. And but it's all about them and the work that they've done, and it's really exciting right now.
How important is it for you, as now the Chief Operating Officer, to ensure that the fan experience is top-notch? Yes, we get to see a great product on the ice that you've just talked about, but there are so many other things that go into a game day.
100%. Right from the time that they enter the Odd, and that's a great testament to the Odd staff, from the ambassadors and the ushers that greet people, through to when puck drop and Hell's Bells gets playing and the smoke and the lights and other things. We really have an amazing staff led by Adam Bramhill and our game day and Chantel. But we want them. We don't know which fans walked in. It's their first Rangers game. And so it's really important to us that they have an amazing experience, whether they're 9 years old or 17 or 25 or 60. It doesn't matter. We really want fans to ensure they see an amazing product on ice, but then they walk away, and from the food concessions to the lights and the entertainment, the use of the video board, that they say, that was awesome, and what an amazing value, and when do we go back? Because business is a pillar of ours. So in addition to hockey, business, and community, we've really tried to focus on those three areas over the last few years, and I think we've done quite an amazing job.
I would say the same, and I'm not just saying that because you're sitting right here. It's a great place. I love walking into that building. I'll do it again tonight. Of course, you're going to be sick of me, Birchie, by the end of the day. And John, watch for those invitations for the March 3rd Let's Talk Sports WR luncheon.
Just like to make a quick comment. I've been a Ranger fan for many, many years, of course, and it used to be it was a hockey team, Joe, and they did a little bit of stuff in the community. But you know what? Now it is a model. The Kitchener Rangers Hockey Club organization is a model corporate citizen in our community who happens to have a hockey team. So there's so much more than just a hockey team that sells a few souvenirs here and there. So congratulations to you and all your predecessors who've taken it from a hockey team only to, something that our community and our region can be very, very proud of.
It's a great point, John. And Joe, both of you, thanks very much for being here, and we'll see you tonight.
See you tonight, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike. Yep.
John Thompson, co-founder, Let's Talk Sports WR. Joe Birch, Chief Operating Officer of the Kitchener Rangers. On the Mike Farwell Show this morning, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I know you remember the story because you have asked about it on a number of occasions since. It's the story of a man in Guelph who built a tiny home in the woods for his father-in-law. His father-in-law, struggling with mental illness, couldn't find a place, including the family home, because the family didn't have the ability to deal with the issues that the father-in-law was dealing with. So out into the woods, an inspection from fire officials who even allowed a wood stove, and the family thought they had the solution they were looking for until they didn't. And now that tiny home has been dismantled, and dad-in-law again is in need of shelter. The man who built the house and got this whole story started is Jesse Damery, who joins us on the show again this morning. Jesse, thanks for making time. Welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me again.
It's a pleasure, really, and what a tough story. We have learned that the house is no longer. What happened?
Well, we initially were getting support from the police, CMHA, which is Canadian Mental Health. They were stating that they might put him on the housing list and bump him up in the long line there. And, it seemed like things were going in the right direction. And, my intentions here were not to build my father-in-law a mini home for him to stay in the woods for the rest of his life. My intentions were to keep him safe for the winter until something came up and another opportunity presented itself. And then we were definitely going to go down that road when it did. And it seemed like it was going in that direction. I was on a project there 3 days ago, and I got a message saying that they are ordering Robert out of his mini home. They had pulled tasers on him to kind of control the situation. They detained him, brought him downtown so that they could do their job, I guess, and throw all of his stuff into a big disposal bin. And then the following day, they let us know that they were going to be tearing the down.
So this was Guelph police then that led the eviction, so to speak?
Actually, the Guelph police was very supportive in this, and the one police officer that was really assisting and helping us out here, he was actually sick that day, and the Canadian Mental Health wasn't available that day for some reason. So this was actually conducted by bylaw and the city workers of Guelph.
Okay, so City of Guelph led this process. I guess the big question now, Jesse, is where is your father-in-law? What's the situation there?
They've put him up in a hotel up off the Hanlon there. So they gave him a timeline of until the 9th of this month, and they've now extended it to till the end of the month. So they're kind of just giving us information as we need it, and we're just kind of hoping that he can stay there as long as it needs to be to find him permanent residency somewhere.
How's he doing?
He's broken. He's definitely. You know what? This was a prime example of you taking a man with nothing going good for him in his life, and you give him a 10-by-8 little structure to have some sort of organization, some sort of purpose, no matter how small it is. And you know what? It was actually really helping him having somewhere to go that was warm every night, not having to worry. His moods were better. His appointments were being met. We really seen progress happening with him, and there was a lot of positive things happening. But since this has happened now, he's definitely more broken than he was before, unfortunately.
You know, that's that example you share is the very example that folks who talk about the importance of housing first, that's the point they always make, right? That if you have stable housing, so many other things can fall into place. And you saw that with your father-in-law.
100%. And, you know, I even learned a lesson here, too, because I thought, you know, like, let's get him into a treatment facility to address his mental instabilities, and then we'll get him housing afterwards. But it doesn't work that way, because I tell you one thing, it's going to be a lot less effort to maybe monitor and keep an eye on Robert in a place than it would be to do the avenue that I took here with doing this mini home, because you want to tell exertion with physical exertion, mental exertion. This is kind of, the situation's kind of consumed my life for the last couple of years. And now it was all for nothing. You could say that, but I definitely learned some lessons here. And I don't know, but we're still kind of shocked how the city handled it, to be honest with you.
Why is that?
Well, because it was going in the right direction. You know, CMHA was out there. They told us that he was going to get housing, and like everything was pointing to my ultimate goal here was to get it noticed, let people know that people are hurting out there, and then let's get these people some help. And he could have been a pilot, or he could have been like the one of many cases that are happening around the communities we all are in these days. And for them just to abruptly just take his livelihood away, and there's not enough funding in the year-end budget of the city to give these people help, but for some reason they could find that $15,000 plus, I'm sure it took to have all the workers there, the bins, the Kubotas, everything like that, to tear down this man's mini home. So where did those funds come from if there's no funds in the budget to help the homeless?
How did all of this begin, Jesse? For those who may not know the origin story, how did it come to pass that you were building this tiny home structure in the woods for your father-in-law?
Well, so I'll just give you a quick Coles note first. Robert was living in housing. He did so for many years. And he just, he took care of himself, kept himself, and everything was as good as could be. And all of a sudden, 2 years ago, he comes to our place and says that he has 7 days to vacate his property, and he's going to be homeless, and he needs help. And so, anyways, I didn't want Robert moving in with us, obviously, because, his emotions are, like, very unstable. He was housed. He was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And
okay, we are losing Jesse's.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go. We were really losing you there, Jesse. Are you still with me?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. You were just talking about Robert being overhoused.
Yeah, so he was overhoused. So they gave him 3 or 4 options to move to different locations. But the 3 or 4 options they gave him they're very bad places. They're full of addiction and, just people that are very unsavory. And he didn't want to do that. But he didn't let us know this was going on. So he got a bunch of notices over 2 or 3 years. They told him, if you don't move out now, we're going to cut your housing and you got to pay full market rent. Long story short, a year goes by. He's $4,500 in arrears, and they gave him an eviction notice. It went through the tribunal. He got evicted, and he had 7 days to get out. I called everybody. I was on the phone for, I bet you, 5 days, just calling and seeing what we could do to help him. At the end of the day, I came up with the $4,750, I think it was, and I brought it down there and I said, hey, can we just salvage this place? Here's the rental arrears. And they instructed me that it was past that point, and he was kind of a nuisance in the building, and this was just step one of getting him out. He was evicted. We called housing, said, what do we do next? They said, there's a 10-year waiting list. Put him on the waiting list, and you're just going to have to make do until he gets bumped up to an available spot. He tried to live with us for about 3 or 4 months, and to say the least, it was very, very, it was inconvenient. It was not healthy for the teenager that lives with us, and it just wasn't a good situation for anybody. So we asked him to leave politely because he just wasn't making any progress to better his own life, and so he left. There was no issues. He went down to the homeless shelter. He got into issues there. He got kicked out. This happened. He's been red-listed from any entities or resources in or whatever happened at these homeless shelters. For the winter, he has no options. I wasn't going to let this man sleep and hope and pray that he stayed warm for the night, and something bad didn't happen to him. So I took it upon myself to build this mini home with my own 2 hands. I carried every stick of wood in the woods myself. I put in over 150 hours on it, and Robert was safe and warm for the winter up until 4 days ago.
How are you doing, man? Like, I mean, I can hear in your voice, I mean, maybe I don't know, but it sounds a little bit stressful. You've been going through this for a long time. How are you and your family doing?
We're taking it day by day, even before this happened. Robert's defeated. We're defeated. He's in a hotel now, and that's great. But, like, what's going to happen in a week when he gets kicked out? It's getting to the point now where it's becoming unhealthy for me. I get comments from people on the platforms that I've pointed out what's going on here, and people are saying, well, maybe the family should step up. Well, you know what? Like, we have stepped up for years now, and building a mini home in the woods with your own 2 hands and doing it all manually with no machinery, no nothing. If that's not effort, I don't know what is. Everybody says, why didn't you follow the bylaws? Why didn't you follow this rule or that rule? Well, I know I did break bylaws that were set in place for communities to follow. But what about all the human rights violations from him not getting the support he needs? Human rights violations there. And I don't really hear some of these people talking about that. And that's totally fine. But, this issue is getting so bad, and Robert's just another one of these statistics swept under the rug. And we don't really know what to do next. We're probably going to put him up in a place and hope for the best. But I definitely won't be building him a mini home in the next couple of weeks. That's for sure.
Do you wish, Jesse, that you had not gone public with the story and maybe just built the tiny home in the woods and left it there quietly?
Not at all. I honestly believe that if I was trying to hide this and be sneaky, it would have been worse than what I did. I didn't try to hide it from anybody. I thought human nature and compassion would have taken care of the situation and just let the man be warm and safe for the winter, and then I would have taken it apart and removed it there in the warmer months. I honestly thought that. And then, you know what? I honestly thought if I got it out in the public eye that people might see what's going on out here, behind the curtain. Life isn't perfect. People do struggle. It's not stereotyped as just simply addicts or delinquents or the rebellious type that are homeless. You got families that are homeless. You got fathers that are homeless. Like, this problem is getting bad. It's raising 30% plus a year. And, you can only take a situation and add so much to it before it explodes. And, it's going to get to that point. So I wanted to take my situation as a pilot to kind of steamroll something that is going to be grander in the end, where we can give these people hope, give these people an option, and stop pushing them in the corners, because there's only so many corners in this world before there's no more corners, and then everybody's going to be, experiencing this in their own way, but just worse, I think.
Jesse, I appreciate you making time for the show today. Thank you very much, and good luck with everything.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on here, and have yourself a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye. Jesse Damery is the man that built the house that has been dismantled by bylaw in the city of Guelph, obviously because there was no regulation that allowed for the house. You heard the story. If you've got a reaction to it, you can share that reaction on the show. That's what the show is all about. It's the most interactive show anywhere in the region, don't you know? We call it the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
It was going in the right direction. CMHA was out there. They told us that he was going to get housing. Everything was pointing to my ultimate goal here was to get it noticed, let people know that people are hurting out there, and then let's get these people some help. And he could have been a pilot, or he could have been like the one of many cases that are happening around the communities we all.
That is Jesse Damery, a Guelph man who built a tiny home in the woods for his mentally ill father-in-law. You heard the whole sordid story again, where this poor man, the father-in-law named Rob, just couldn't find housing. He was overhoused and then fell behind when they changed the rent to market rates. And even though Jesse came up with the money, it was too late. Dad was evicted. Shelters didn't work. He's been red listed, Rob has, from all of the various shelter opportunities. So as a last resort, when it wasn't working out, to have somebody with a severe enough mental illness in the family home, Jesse built the tiny home in the woods, thought it was a great solution, saw some progress in his father-in-law because he had that safe, stable, warm place to go to every night. And then bylaw came in, and that was the end of the tiny home. I can't say as though I'm surprised, because this is the way that our system is designed, right? You can't just go and build a tiny home in the woods without any permits, and that goes against all of these various regulations. But at the same time, you hear through Jesse's story the very human side of all of this and where the gaps are in those systems that we have in place, right? I understand the letter of the law. As I said, I'm not surprised at all. I was quite frankly surprised that Jesse was so publicly sharing the story of what he had done, because I thought, you draw enough attention to this thing, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts I know what the outcome's going to be. And sure enough, the outcome is what I expected it would be. And now Rob is struggling again. And Jesse says he has no regrets. If this draws attention to the issue and the problems within our system, then that, in the end, is a big win. So it's tough. It is really tough. I cannot imagine what that family is going through and the difficulties that they currently face. So with that in mind, why don't we share a more heartwarming family story? I'm going to take you to Bradford, England for this one, if you'll allow, but it's a really nice story to remind you, as we do daily on the show, that not everybody is a jackwagon. This long-term care home in Bradford, England, helped to make a man's final wish come true in a way now that his family will never forget. And it was a really simple gesture. They brought a fox to visit him at his bedside. Colin Emmett, 85 years old, was placed on end-of-life care, and doctors told the family about 6 weeks ago that his time is limited. And here's the thing about Colin. All through his life, he had this special love for foxes. He collected fox ornaments. He enjoyed watching foxes in his garden. He was even nicknamed Fox by his family. Such was his fascination and adoration of foxes. So when the staff at the long-term care home learned about his wish, they contacted the Fox Angels Foundation. This is a real thing, to see if it might be possible for Colin to see a fox, hoping at the very least he could view one through a window. But the Fox Angels Foundation did one better, and a 7-year-old rescue fox named Ben was brought in to meet Colin in person, allowing him to gently stroke the animal he had loved for so many years. The foundation later described the visit as a, quote, very emotional moment for all involved. And even the fox, Ben, was calm and wonderful throughout the entire experience. Colin's daughter said the impact on her father was remarkable. And I will quote again, "This was such a beautiful moment. The visit had the most incredible impact on him. He can't remember what he had for tea or for lunch after half an hour, but he still remembers Ben from 2 weeks ago. It's just lovely." And that is your daily reminder that not everybody is a jackwagon, especially not the folks in Bradford, England, at the Bingley Park long-term care home who allowed Colin Emmett to pet a fox in his final days because his lifelong fascination was with that animal. If you know somebody who is not a jackwagon, and I have no doubt that you do, feel free to email me, Mike at 570news.com. Always looking for more of those stories, and I will continue to keep my commitment to you every day on this show, amongst all of the other things we talk about, which can be challenging at times, just like the story we shared with Jesse Damery. But we'll remind you every day that not everybody is a jackwagon. An update from the 570 News Center is coming up before noon. In the next 30 minutes, you will meet an inaugural member of the University of Waterloo women's hockey team. Just think of what it was like to be one of the first players, female players, to play for UW, as UW gets set to host once again the USports Women's Hockey Championships in Elmira next month. And right after this update from the 570 News Center, it is our monthly mental health check-in with the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo Wellington. It all takes place on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Here's the cool thing about the month of February. We are at the second Tuesday, and it's already the 10th of the month, meaning less than 3 weeks left in the month itself, right? February hath only 28 days. After the 1,000 days of January, we're into the shortest month of the year, and this second Tuesday of February brings us to the 10th of the month. And on the second Tuesday of every month at this time, we're joined by our friends at the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo Wellington for our monthly mental health check-in. As always, CEO Helen Fishburn is here. Helen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Long time no see. Didn't we just see each other at a hockey game the other night?
We sure did. We were up in the nosebleeds with you in the media pool, which was awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
awesome.
I loved it too. It was great to see you in person. It's great to have you here this morning. And Helen brings along with her Laura McDonald, who facilitates the Talk Today program with CMHA. Laura, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Helen, I'll start with you if we can, because I referenced this month, and it feels like a bit of a relief that we're through that long month of January. We've still got some ways to go, but there's something about February that, I don't know, maybe lifts our spirits just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, January was absolutely bruising, Mike. It was so cold, and there was so much snow. It was very hard for people to get out and about, and just almost enjoy, hard to enjoy the winter. And as Canadians, we like to enjoy the winter, but it was really tough to do that. So happy to see January behind us. February, is still a bit of a dark month for folks as well. So always wanting to really continue to have the conversation and support, people through this month. Honestly, that's what I found so heartwarming about our time at the Odd on Friday night with the Kitchener Rangers, where we set up our booth, and people from all walks of life just coming up to our booth, sharing a little bit about their own mental health story or something in their family, needing some support, getting some connections with us. It's amazing. You go to a hockey game, you set up a booth, and people come from everywhere to talk to you about mental health. It feels very heartwarming in those moments, Mike, and as I was sharing with you Friday night, it feels like a bit of a lift too.
It certainly does. And it was the Talk Today game with the Kitchener Rangers, a program that runs throughout the Ontario Hockey League with the support of and partnership with the Canadian Mental Health Association. And Laura, as the facilitator of that program, I know we're now moving it into women's hockey as well.
Yes, the exciting piece to this is that CMHA Ontario has been able to roll it out into other minor sports in the province. So this is new this year. It's a pilot project. In our region, we are working with the Waterloo Ravens Girls Hockey Association. So the exciting piece is we're doing two different presentations. One's more geared to the younger group, so that would be the U15, single A, double A girls. Are getting one really focusing on, they call it the wellness playbook. So talking about how our emotions can affect our mental health, how that can affect our stress, what we do if we are struggling, who we can reach out to for support. And then we use that same program that we use in the OHL for the older teams. So that would be the U18, U22. And that program really is talking about how do we recognize those signs and symptoms that someone could be struggling with mental health or having thoughts of suicide? And then what do we do with that? Who can we tell? Who can we identify on the team as a trusted adult? And I think it's just so valuable to expand into minor sports so that we can get that message across at a younger age.
How is this work done, Laura? Are these in-person seminars? Do the athletes work through modules that CMHA has created? How does it work?
We are setting up times with the teams. So there are two of us on our mental health promotion and education team that go in person, and we talk to the teams. We have an actual set session that we go through the information. There's time to have a conversation, and we also want the coaching staff to be there too so that everyone gets that same information.
Helen, it occurs to me that while we're talking about this program and its application for women's hockey, girls hockey through the Waterloo Ravens, which is terrific, the men's game in the Ontario Hockey League, etc., but we have just begun enjoying the Olympics. And as we cheer on these athletes, I think we have to remember that boy, oh boy, it takes a special kind of resilient person to compete at this level, the Olympic level.
Yeah, honestly, it's extraordinary. I've been glued to the Olympics since it started. It's such an incredible feat to watch these athletes in so many diverse, winter sports. It's incredible, their skill, their persistence, their determination. And we see that at the OHL 2 level. Like they put their whole selves into this sport, right? Their heart, their soul, their mind. And it's really admirable. And it also comes with extreme pressure, right? So there's a lot of perfectionism that elite athletes struggle with, the expectations that they carry almost from their country. When they're over in the Olympics, they're representing our country. Like, imagine the pressure that they're under. So we always want to be mindful of that and always want to think about, again, how to best support those athletes, not just in the physical sense, but as they're managing that much pressure and that much expectations. Because, of course, the more we can support the mind as well as support their physical skills and attributes, they're going to be able to perform at their highest level.
And speaking of supporting the physical skills, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't make mention of the push-up challenge, which is underway again in the month of February.
It sure is, and God bless you, Mike. You're in it.
I am.
I hope you're enjoying the benefits of all those push-ups that you're doing every day. You're doing amazing. I will say we have our highest number of participants this year. We've already raised $60,000 for our branch alone since we started, which was February 5th. We're doing an incredible amount of push-ups across this area, but across the country, because this is a CMHA national event. Mike, I'm always surprised by this, that people actually sign up to do push-ups. But it really is. Again, when you think about OHL and the Olympics and push-ups, it's about working through the discomfort, right? Setting a goal for yourself, working through that discomfort, feeling good about what you've achieved. And then, of course, in the push-up challenge example, at the same time raising funds for our local branch. $60,000 is not a small amount of money. It's going to be an incredible help as we continue to do our best to reach more people in the community. We just feel so good about the support that we've had.
Keep up the great work, and we look forward to a final update on the push-up challenge when we talk again soon. And Laura, to you too for this Talk Today program, extending it into women's hockey and the partnership with the Waterloo Ravens. This is great stuff all around. So kudos and keep up the great work.
Well, thanks, Mike, and thanks for your support. And I will say, you know, the Olympics is coming at such a unique time for all of us to watch. Like, it isn't about whether you've ever snowboarded or skied or done any kind of athletic endeavor in your life. It really is about all of us coming together as Canadians to stand behind the folks that are representing us in their triumphs and their heartbreak. It's the human story, right, that we're all pulled into as we watch the Olympics. And Mike, you know this, you know, we need a story to unite us all across the world. And the Olympics are really doing that for us right now. And it feels so good to stand behind our athletes and come together to cheer them on. Because that unity right now, it's so needed.
I couldn't agree more. And I felt that. I really did when I started watching the Olympics on the weekend. And much like your household, I'm sure, Helen, ours has got the Olympics on. It seems like 24/7. As long as we're home, the Olympics are on, at least in the background. And we're certainly enjoying the way it unites us all. So a great message for sure. Helen, Laura, thank you both for being here this morning. And we look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for always inviting us to join you. And also, good luck with the rest of the push-ups.
Thank you very much. Laura, thanks to you as well.
Thanks, Mike.
Helen Fishburne and Laura McDonald joining us from the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo Wellington. Helen is the CEO there. Laura is the facilitator of the Talk Today program. It was the Talk Today game at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium last Friday. Helen joined our broadcast. I know you had heard her because you sent some great messages about it. It's just so important to remember, and it ties into the Olympics as well. It's equally important in the Ontario Hockey League. These young men perform at a very high level. There are tremendous expectations on them. And, you know, when you're involved in athletics, particularly hockey, there's a machismo that goes along with it, right? You don't talk about problems, anything like that. You just tape it up and get back out there. And so to have these programs made available to these young athletes is incredibly important. So great work being done by Laura. On the push-up challenge story, yes, I am. I shared this on our show Facebook page, facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show. The link is there if you would like to support me in this. And I'll give you an update on it just after the noon hour when we get into Talkback, because I'm having a little bit of an unfortunate start to my push-up challenge, and I may need to ask for a bit of a mulligan on the style of push-up that I'm using. But I'll talk to you about that just after noon. I would love it, though. The important thing here is that we push for support for mental health services. And I've set a goal of $1,000. We're about $300 there already. And if you are so inclined, I would love your support in my push-up challenge. Just visit The Mike Farwell Show on Facebook, and you'll find the link there, and you can make a donation. And I would certainly appreciate that. And I'll tell you so much more about it when we get to talk back in about 15 minutes. Right now, a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about those USports hockey championships, the women's championships coming to Elmira again this year. And we'll talk about it with one of the inaugural members of the University of Waterloo women's hockey team. That's coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The USports Women's Hockey Championships are returning to Waterloo Region, Elmira specifically. They will run from March the 19th through the 22nd at the Woolwich Memorial Centre in Elmira. And it is with that in mind we speak to a former women's hockey player at the University of Waterloo. I'll bet you she's still got wheels, though. I'm sure that she's still out there on the ice, dazzling and dangling. Crystal Darling joins the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Pleasure to talk with you today.
You may be the CEO at Trimac Group, but come on. You can still get out there and turn circles around people, can't you?
Well, I still do play. Yes, I play in a women's pickup league on Thursday nights, and I'm currently coaching my daughter, U7 Lady Rangers. So
fantastic.
I am still on the ice quite often.
I love it. That's not even fair. I've seen some of these, these recreational leagues, but when they put a talent like you out there, like it's a lopsided team now, Crystal. Come on.
Well, I will say my girls are doing quite well. Yes,
I love it.
Great.
Good stuff. Okay, let's go back, if we can, to I don't know if you realize that you must have, because it's the first ever women's hockey team at the University of Waterloo that you were a part of. You were blazing a trail in the black and gold back then.
Yes. I was part of the inaugural year in 2002. Now I'm aging myself, but yes. And it was a lot different back then. So I always said, by today's standards, there's no way I would be making the current varsity hockey team. But I was fortunate enough to be able to make it and play for 5 years.
I can understand how different it would have been. And when you look back on that and then you see what it's like today, what are those differences that you're seeing in the game compared to when you played on that first team back in 2003?
Oh, well, just their skill in general. I mean, the pace out there, the stick handling, just the hockey smarts that they have is incredible. We were fortunate to watch the Waterloo team play in the championships last year, and it was just amazing. They knew where each other was. The passing, the shots. Like, I don't even think we could take a slap shot from the point when I played, honestly. And these girls are just ripping the puck. It's just come so far. It's amazing to watch. It's so entertaining.
You mentioned coaching your daughters now and the opportunities they obviously have with the Lady Rangers. And I wonder, Crystal, going back again, if you're a part of that inaugural team, you're a young woman who's obviously got enough skill to be on the ice as part of a varsity team. What kinds of opportunities did you have or not have as in hockey back then?
Well, I think we were blessed with really good coaches. I mean, we were fortunate to have Geraldine Heaney, an Olympic medalist on the Canada women's hockey team, as a coach for 3 years. Fortunate to have a coach teach you the game at that caliber. I would say back then, though, there wasn't a lot of recognition for women's hockey, so the fans were not quite as packed as they are today, and certainly the sponsorships and the funding support wasn't like it is today. But we were blessed with, the ability to do practices every single day and dry land training, and we did have equipment support as well. So. Yeah, it's great. I just think that the talent level is just so much more. Women are getting brought into hockey at a very young age, like U7. I mean, my daughter, honestly, she got to start playing hockey at the age of 4. I started playing hockey literally when I joined the varsity hockey team. So
exactly it. Yeah,
a little different.
Okay, so and if I can stay on those same lines again, if your daughter starts playing at 4, there's a U7 team now. The theme around this year's USports Women's Hockey Championship again is see them, be them. Do you see that in the kids that you're coaching, yeah. Crystal? Because they see that there's a future in this game for them, perhaps.
Absolutely. Now you can actually go somewhere with the sport, right? You can play in the Professional Women's Hockey League. That wasn't an opportunity that we had. It was fascinating, though. We enjoyed the Battle of Waterloo a couple of weeks back. Brought our whole hockey team out, and we were granted the privilege of being able to sit on the bench and watch the girls warm up, and just the awe in their face and the admiration that they had, and that they are recognizing that could be them one day. If they work really, really hard at Crystal's practices, they too will be a varsity athlete and beyond. So it's so great.
You mentioned having had the opportunity to see some of that championship last year, the skill that was on display. What did you see from last year, Crystal, that we're going to be able to build on as a community, as a host team when we have the tournament back again this year?
We just saw a team that was gelled. They were on the ice, excellent power play, excellent penalty kill, they just seemed to know where their partners were on the rink at all times. And I just think culture is a big part of women's sport. And you can really see that in that team, that they all respect each other. They all love being together. They love playing the sport. And you saw it in the championship game. It was a disappointing loss, but they made it all the way there.
And we should point out, this is a pretty big, hairy deal for our community to be able to host this tournament again.
Huge. Yes, huge. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I'd love to encourage everyone to get out. I think at the end of March break here for 3 days, the USport is coming to the Elmira Memorial Arena, and it's just going to be a fabulous show. I think everyone is going to be really impressed with the level of hockey that they see, and we need to get all of our local leagues and rep leagues for women and for boys out watching this. It's quite amazing.
Absolutely. Very high-level hockey. Does Coach Crystal pick up any ideas for practices for the U7s when she's watching?
Yeah, they're just a little modified. But yes.
Sign of a good coach right there. Take something and make it work for your team.
I have to ask Sean for his practice plans, but I'm sure he'll give them to me.
He will. He'll share. Absolutely. Great to talk to you, Crystal. You're such a great ambassador for the community and for the game. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Enjoy the day. Yep. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Crystal Darling is the Chief Executive Officer at Trimac Group, Inc., and there's just another example. See them, be them. Here's a former women's varsity hockey player, now the CEO of Trimac Group in our community. And the USports Women's Hockey Championships is coming back, running March the 19th through the 22nd in Elmira. High-level hockey with UW hosting, and we want to see them get to that final game and have the positive outcome this time around. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage outside, or you don't go out Friday night.
Don't talk back.
Well, forget what the singer says. Don't talk back. We want you to actually do the opposite. Talk back to us each and every day from noon until 1. We open the phone lines for the Talkback Hour, and we decide to keep it as a potpourri every day. It's like that category on Jeopardy, right? Whatever it is that's on your mind, a reflection on something we've talked about on the show today, or something you would like to bring to our attention. I'm just here for the conversation, always opening the phone lines at 519-570-2545, star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. We're going to start with Liam this afternoon. Good afternoon, Liam. You're on Talkback.
Good afternoon, Mike. I am a member of your force, just to let you know.
I know it. Well, we didn't add you too long ago, did we? You're somewhere up in the 200s, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I just wanted to say one thing that's more powerful than hate is love. And I really wanted to bring this up because yesterday I had a lovely conversation with our good friend Sean Farwell, and he was talking to a bunch of students and stuff about ways to stand out if he wants to make it into sports and stuff. And the thing is, I didn't really appreciate the things the gentleman or some had to say yesterday about Bud Bunny and stuff. And I mean, the thing about it is there really a singular type of American music? Because music is universal and stuff. And the thing about it is, I feel like regardless of culture, music is something that brings everyone together, really. And the thing about it is, I feel like the gentleman that you had on the show yesterday really would not know about what to bring people together. And I find the thing about things right now is everyone's making a big deal out of stuff that doesn't affect our lives and stuff, like, really. But that's really just all I have to say for today.
All right, Liam, good to hear from you today. And yeah, I got a strange call, even a few messages after it, from one of our regulars on the show yesterday who was expressing his concern with the Bad Bunny choice for Super Bowl halftime performer. And I'm certainly with Liam on two counts. One is love is much stronger than hate. I know for whatever reason, it seems more difficult to make a kind gesture than an unkind one. Maybe that's our internal instinct. I don't know, survival of the fittest and all of that. However, kindness is always better and it costs us nothing. And the second part is, like, music has no language. They're just music. I don't know. I've never been a lyrics guy anyway. I make mistakes in lyrics all the time, but music is music and it can move you in such powerful ways. And I love it so much. So I frankly don't care what words you're singing or what language you're singing in. Most music, especially when I get to hear it live, is pretty powerful stuff for me. So I cannot for the life of me understand all of the hand-wringing and or criticism around the halftime show from Sunday. And I say that as somebody that didn't watch it, not because I don't like Bad Bunny or anything like that. I don't even know his music, but I was not interested at all in the Super Bowl. I hardly watched the game. I told you yesterday I was flipping channels and I spent more time watching the old 80s movie Roadhouse than I did the football game. And every once in a while I just flipped back to see what the score was. And that was it. So anyway, somebody pointed out to me, and I think it was a pretty good point, you know, what is football, or who is the typical football viewer? And maybe by scheduling a different kind of halftime performance, something that wouldn't be as understood by the older audience that watches football, maybe they're trying to attract a new demographic. Who knows? The American football, the National Football League, plays games in Europe now and other parts of the world to grow their audience globally. So, you know, the traditional football audience may well be changing. Jersey Bill is next with us on Talkback this afternoon. Hello, Billy.
Hey, good afternoon. And I think I figured out a way to get Bad Bunny and Donald Trump on the same page.
Oh, I like this. Let's hear it.
Well, you know, Bad Bunny, you didn't see it, so I'll tell you, he ended it with everybody waving flags behind him, flags of all the members of the Organization of American States, to include Argentina and Chile, and of course even Mexico and Canada. And what struck me was that Argentina and Chile now are both their presidents are Trump allies. We've given $20 billion to Argentina in loan guarantees. So, you know, if Trump can't add Greenland or Canada to the United States, why not add Chile and Argentina? They're full of European immigrants, the kind of people that Trump said he wants. I think it would be interesting. Maybe add Uruguay too. All the conic republics. Start with that. Of course, I would like to see them separated into provinces, so or the different provinces become states. So maybe we'd add 20 more states from down there, and that may make 40 more senators, and however much it would add to the how many representatives they would have. I think they probably would have a combined population of maybe 70 million or so. So, yeah, it would be interesting. And I think if Trump was smart, he would do that. You know, he wants to add to the United States. Why not add his friends, Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay?
Billy, I love it. You're coming up with solutions on the Talkback Hour today. Why not? And maybe if we can get Donald Trump concerned about that, he'll be less concerned about the Gordie Howe Bridge. Right? Dennis sent me an email to Mike at 570news.com. Says his daughter's hockey team is doing the push-up challenge in support of the Canadian Mental Health Association. I love it. It's fantastic. I promised we talked with Helen Fishburne, the CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association, Waterloo, Wellington, just after 11:30 this morning, and she mentioned my participation in the push-up challenge. I've done this before, and you may recall that I often started this a long time ago and actually only fell off the wagon a little bit back in the fall of 2025, like a few months ago, when I came down with a cold, and I had a series of them sequentially. It was weird. And anyway, I was down on myself and I got lazier and I stopped. But what I have been doing for years on the show is every time we go to a news break, every half hour I get down on the floor and crank out some push-ups. I try to do 15 very strict push-ups every day or every newscast. And then I stopped in the fall because I got sick and I really didn't pick it up again. So I thought this push-up challenge is going to be the perfect way to get back on track. Not to mention, it can further my commitment that I made at New Year's to move more, get active, exercise, etc. I'm averaging more than 10,000 steps a day. That's been great. I've never been that high. I hope I can keep it up. I plan to. And I thought the push-ups were the next logical step in the progression, and we can raise money for the Canadian Mental Health Association, which is very important to me. So I put the link on our Facebook page, and you can check it out for yourself, and I would appreciate any support that you can give, however much that may be. Facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show. And here's the problem, and forgive me for just a moment for making myself the center of attention, but about a week before the push-up challenge was to begin, I buggered my shoulder. And by buggered, I mean I shoveled too much snow. This is not a lie. This is not a joke or an exaggeration. I shoveled too much snow, and I woke up one morning with a pinched nerve. And I don't know if you've ever been through this before. I have on one other occasion. But the pain, to describe it as best I can, is excruciating. It's absolutely excruciating. And I thought, well, it'll go away, because I'm me and I'm stubborn as the day is long, and I'll just wait it out. And every day it gets a little bit worse, and I start popping some Advils to try to manage the pain, and I can't sleep at night. And it's been a rough ride. I will not tell a lie. So about a day or 2 days before the push-up challenge started, I thought, well, listen, I can still live. I'm still walking and talking and doing my job. I'm gonna try a push-up and see, how this is going to work. And my left side, which is the shoulder that I've buggered, won't push up. It can't. It's not connected right now. So Rocky Balboa, I am not. One-armed push-ups are out of the question. The challenge does allow for alternate exercises, including squats, body weight squats, which I would be more than happy to do if you would allow me to do the push-up challenge in that way, because I would like your support to get to the $1,000 goal. I had all these ideas in my head about the places I could be doing push-ups to create some content and generate some interest in this campaign, and I have not been able to do one single push-up. And I kept thinking, well, I'm going to get there. Like, I'll get better soon enough, and I'll catch up. As of today, I'm 350 push-ups behind, and I finally broke down and saw my doctor yesterday, and now I'm just on some wicked painkillers, and I'm going to have to get more tests done. That's the long way of saying I am unable, still, 5 days into the push-up challenge, to do a single ding-dang push-up. Body weight squats, I'm more than happy to do because I can. My legs are working just fine, as is my mouth, as you can hear. Or maybe you've got another challenge that I could do to count towards the push-up challenge, because I would love to reach the $1,000 goal, and I would love to do it in a way that's meaningful to you, but I cannot do a push-up right now. So there's my story. I mentioned the push-up challenge before. It came up again today. You're probably wondering, how's your progress? Where are the updates online? The update is, I'm old, my nerve is pinched, it hurts like hell, and I can't do push-ups. But I will do squats or anything else that you think is appropriate. And that's enough of what ails me. I can still talk. I'm here for the conversation, especially during Talkback. So keep my phones busy, okay? It's the Mike Farwell Show, and I'm willing to take your suggestions. I don't want you to do squats. I want you to do hopscotch. I don't care. Just don't make me use my left arm. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Holy moly, enough out of you, Farwell. What do you think it is? The show that they put your name on? Just for the record, I did not ask for that. They came up with the name, and then they thought, who are we going to get to host the Mike Farwell Show? Oh, wait, I know a guy. He works down the hall at our country music station. Let's ask him if he'll host the Mike Farwell Show, because, his name is Mike Farwell. Anyway, enough out of me. Right back to the phones, because it's your Talkback Hour. Grant, good afternoon, my friend.
Get me.
You want you? What's your last name?
Vickers.
That's right, Grant. The Grant Vickers Show. It's got a nice ring to it. What do you think?
Oh, I think I got the Bad Bunny virus.
Okay, what's the Bad Bunny virus?
Oh, I don't care if it's music in Spanish. Yeah, I think if I was at a game, I think I would be dancing with maybe a Spanish lady.
Exactly. That's what happens, right? It's just the music. It moves you. You start swaying your hips and tapping your toes. If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it. It's one of my favorites from Shakespeare.
And I think if I had the chance of, and it probably would never happen, of opening up for this guy, yeah, I'd say, yeah, I like that. And then Andrew McNeil, did you know that he's doing a campaign for a very worthwhile cause? I think they said this during the last game. He's blocked 89 shots, and all the money, or some of the proceeds, are going to kids in Toronto.
That's right.
Where I spent most of my time in because I had a club foot and some other problems. And yeah, so way to go, Mr. McNeil. I think the game will be a high-scoring game tonight because London seems to be still pretty lethal in that regards of scoring goals. I think it will be a 6-5 overtime win for Kitchener. What do you think?
I think that's a very high-scoring game, especially between these two teams that play a little bit tighter defensively. But, hey, it can be a 6-5 game as long as the Rangers win, because my favorite games are the games that the Rangers win. Speaking of London, the team that the Rangers will face tonight, the Ontario Hockey League put out a graphic a little earlier, less than an hour ago, talking about the teams that have the most points since the OHL trade deadline back on January the 9th. Kitchener is second, 23 points. Barrie leads the way with 26. But the sixth team on the 7-team list is the London Knights. And the London Knights apparently sold off their best players, but yet they've got the sixth most points since the OHL trade deadline. The list goes Barrie, Kitchener, Brantford, Sioux, Ottawa, London, and then Flint. So go figure. And just because Grant mentioned it, I will also mention again Andrew's ambition. Andrew McNeil, defenseman for the Kitchener Rangers, $2 for every shot he blocks will be donated to his campaign for Sick Kids Hospital. And the Rangers are donating $10 per shot blocked, and you can get in on it as well. Just go to KitchenerRangers.com for details. I will say again, I recommend a flat rate donation because that kid eats pucks for breakfast, Andrew McNeil does, and he's going to block a lot of shots. So you might want to just go for a flat rate so you don't end up spending more than you thought, or spend more than you thought you might, because it's a great cause, as Grant points out. Mark is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Mark.
Afternoon, Mike. Couple of quick things.
Yes, sir.
First of all, thanks for the heads up on the new Value Village location.
It was the Farwell's Force that came through for you, buddy. I had no idea. So you're welcome.
Yeah, you're right. And it's a very big store and very nice, Mike. Very nice.
Oh, I'm glad you got there.
Now, second thing. Last night, Mike, there was not much on TV, so I'm flipping around the channels, and I came across this movie called, I've never seen it before till last night, called The Reservoir Dogs.
Come on, that was the first time you saw Reservoir Dogs?
Honest.
Oh,
and
my
Mike,
goodness.
It just blew me away.
Tell me, Mark, because I know you're a music fan, does that not change the song Stuck in the Middle with You forever?
It really did.
Oh, my gosh.
It's not a kid's movie, I'll tell you that right now.
Nope, definitely not.
Boy, oh boy, what a movie.
What a movie indeed.
Okay, Mike.
Okay, Mark.
Thanks again.
You bet, buddy. Good to hear from you. I think, was that Tarantino's first? Either way, if you're like Mark and haven't seen it yet because he just saw it last night, oh my goodness, a fantastic movie. And yes, Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle with You. You will never hear the song the same way after you see Reservoir Dogs. plain and simple. Toll-free Jay, good afternoon.
Well, I did push-ups, although I'm in a wheelchair now. I did push-ups every day for 22 years, all day, pretty well. But that's how I got through university. My mom read every page of every textbook to me. And I just wanted to recommend, if you can't use your left arm, have you ever heard of isometrics?
Who, what now?
Isometrics are like where if you want to just, with no weight in your arm, just close your fist and just bend your arm towards your shoulder, and it'll rebuild your arm for you in your shoulder.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for that.
And as I say, I'm confined, well, not confined to the chair, but if I hadn't been doing my push-ups for from 1984 until 2003 consecutively, I wouldn't be able to move as well as I do now.
Attaboy, Jay. Hey, motion is lotion, my good buddy Paul Fixter likes to say.
And Motions is a tremendous wheelchair supplier. So
okay.
But also, where's that new Value Village? I wasn't aware it moved.
We are fascinated by this Value Village. It is now on Ottawa Street at Strasbourg in the Laurentian Power Center.
Thank you for the help, sir.
You're very welcome, sir. It's great to hear from you. I subscribe to what Fixie said, too. Motion is lotion. My left arm may be buggered, and it's funny. Jay says do isometrics. My left arm feels like it weighs 30 pounds. It's very... Man, the body is fascinating to me. Anyway, I'm still walking. I'm still talking. I just can't use my left arm. Talkback continues. More of your calls after this update from the 570 News Center on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is a busy show for busy people. It's a busy Talkback Hour. Right back to the phones we go. Kyle, good afternoon.
I thought people that were born in Puerto Rico were an American citizen.
Okay.
Trump said they're not. He said they're all illegals.
Well, but listen, in all honesty, I question the man's IQ. I'm sorry. He does not strike me as the most intelligent human on the planet.
It's true.
Yeah.
I also thought that I'd be in the penalty box after posting what I did on your page yesterday.
No, you know what? I have rules on the show. You want to do that? You want to be like that? You be that guy. Go ahead. You think I was wearing a Rocket Richard sweater, right?
Well, it's a big R, so that's where I came from. I know it's a Root sweater. But,
no, it was not a Root sweater either. It's a big R in blue. Oh. What city do I live in?
What city do you live in?
Yes.
What's an R?
No. What city do I live in?
Oh, Kitchener.
Okay. And what is the biggest sports franchise in the city?
Oh, well, of course we know that's the Kitchener Rangers.
Well, that's what the big blue R on my non-Roots sweater yesterday was for.
Well, you know what? You're going to have a good time tonight, aren't you?
I hope so.
By the way, I know that, the guy said that love is bigger than hate.
Yes.
That's why I love this show. And I love you, Mike.
I love you, Kyle. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
You too. Good to hear from you. And go ahead. Keep posting that happy crappy on my Facebook page. He said it was a Rocket Richard sweater. And I can acknowledge good players. Arbor Jacki, hello. But I'm not going to say the team's name. Simple as that. Walter is with us on Talkback today. Hello, Walter.
Hello. Boy, you two guys should get a room. I'm telling you, man.
Maybe we will. We're going to meet somewhere between Listowel and Kitchener.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Mike.
Okay, good.
So I have a couple things here.
Yeah.
Mike, so I've been trying to watch as many sports as I can on the Olympics there, and I've been noticing that on all the sports channels. There's like a half a dozen of them, with each network. And they all basically show the same sport on their channel. And it's like, come on, guys. Why don't you mix it up a bit here, And it was the same thing, with the last Olympics in the summer, so that really ticks me off about that. And now, also, you've injured your left arm. Is that what I'm hearing?
I pinched a nerve, Walter. Yeah.
So what does that mean? That you're going to be super slow to hit that up dump button?
No, I can still use my right arm.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you have to go, cross body.
No, I set everything up just so I can keep an eye and an ear on scoundrels like you.
Okay, now also, that hit on the Canadian women's hockey team captain. Did you see the size of that girl that hit her?
I did not see any of the game. I was at my doctor's appointment yesterday.
She was huge, and I'm telling you. So, what is there, Mike? Like, you're the wizard of all, everything hockey. Okay, so that's a 2-minute penalty, for body checking. Is there actually a degree of penalties? If it was a blatant one, what is that, like a game, or is it, is it just a body check? Then it's just 2 minutes. I'm not sure how the rules work there at women's hockey. Are you up on that?
Well, a little bit, but not so much in the international way, right? This is the Olympics, so it'll be under the International Ice Hockey Federation rules, and that's kind of like determining what is or what is not pass interference in the NFL.
I see.
Yeah,
okay,
they call it differently under the IIHF rules.
Okay, well, I've been listening for 20 minutes, Mike, and I am much smarter today than I was yesterday. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my friend. Thank you. You see, we will offer you an official Farwell's Force member number if you do what Walter does. And it's funny because I all I ask for is 15 minutes a day. And Walter called one day and says he does 20. I'm like, that's fantastic. Do 20, do 25. You could, if you wanted to, do 240 minutes every day because that's how many minutes we are on the air. But if you do just 15 minutes a day, we will offer you an official membership in Farwell's Force, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. We are about 330 strong now, and I'm telling you, we're barreling towards 500. I want to get to 500 by the end of the year. That gives me 10 and a half months still. It's up to you, though. If you are a 15-minute listener daily, drop me an email, mike@570news.com. Happy to add you to the list. I like to go in sequence, the next number available. If you've got a favorite, we can try to do that for you. It's entirely up to you. I just want to grow this force for good in our community. Or just give us a call and let us know. Say, hey, I listen for 15 minutes a day. I want to be part of Farwell's Force. You're welcome aboard. Tom is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Tom.
Hi, how are you, Mike?
Good, thank you.
I'm interested in why isn't the opposition in Parliament in Toronto going after all these scandals that we're having in the police force? They're nowhere talking to.
Well, we're having a scandal in one police force right now. Let's be clear about that. And then the watchdog has said every police service in the province will be audited, which I think is important to try to maintain
but first
public
of all, you have to
confidence.
fire all the people at the top.
They'd better. Well,
they have to resign or fire.
That's fair. Happened under your watch, you're out. I get it.
Yeah, and then they have to have an outside investigation. So I'm saying, where is our opposition? They're saying nothing about this. Ford says he likes the police. So I don't know. This seems to be really huge. So I hope they straighten it out because I love our police.
All right, Tom. Appreciate the call. Let's not forget that they are on their winter break, right? Queen's Park until March. So not a lot. I mean, but they can still, obviously, they put out their media releases. They do what's what. But I'll just remind you what Ryan Teschner, who's the Inspector General of Policing here in Ontario, had to say at his media conference yesterday. Oh, I turned my computer off. That was my fault. Here I am again, doing all the wrong things. This is what Ryan Teschner, the Inspector General of Policing here in Ontario, had to say at his media conference yesterday.
Public trust is repeatedly cited as essential to policing. But it's important to be clear about why that trust is foundational and a requirement for our policing system to function effectively. People most often encounter police at moments of crisis, when they are frightened, injured, grieving, or in immediate danger. In those moments, public trust is not abstract. It determines whether people will seek help, whether they will cooperate, tell the truth, and accept protection. Without this trust, even lawful authority loses legitimacy and public safety is weakened for everyone. Rebuilding public trust also requires more than words. It requires action. And that is why today I am announcing an independent province-wide inspection into the ability of Ontario's police services and boards to prevent, detect, respond to, and fortify their organizations against corruption and ensure integrity. Although this issue originated with the Toronto Police Service, we have since learned that other organizations may be impacted. And in any event, incidents like these understandably shake public trust in policing more broadly. It's important to acknowledge the real questions the public is asking and the potential effect these questions may have on their confidence in Ontario's policing system.
And I think that's a telling statement. Is our confidence shaken in policing in Ontario? I'm with Tom when he said he loves his police officers. I have nothing but respect for those in the uniforms that are doing the jobs that they're doing. Nothing but respect. And this does, when you hear it happen in one police service, kind of cast a cloud over all, right? Does it shake your confidence in policing here in the province? And hence the probe that will be done into every one of our police services across Ontario. And that was Ryan Teschner, the Inspector General of Policing here in Ontario. Back to the phones on Talkback. Andre is with us. Good afternoon, Andre.
Good afternoon, Mike. Game day, baby.
Game day, baby.
I just can't wait for this because there's no hockey. And
what do you mean there's no hockey? You just said it's game day.
Yeah, but that's it. That's the only time I could drink.
Wait, what?
What? Yeah, I drink 4 glasses when it's game day.
Oh my gosh, Andre.
Right?
Okay.
Now there's nothing. But anyway, Mike, I want to say is, do you have the number 316?
I think 316 just disappeared, Andre. Yeah, we're at 319. I can give you 318 went to Terry the Tinter. 317 went to Paul. 316 was Corey.
Oh, my goodness. Do you have 369?
Oh, you're making me go out of order here. 369. Yes, Andre. Do you want to be Farwell's Force member number 369?
A force for change, a force to be recognized. Yeah. To the window, to the wall. 369. Mike, I'm excited. So, good show. And thank you very much for being a member. And I really hope one day you become the Grand Pumbaa.
Thanks, Andre. Appreciate you, buddy. I usually tell folks to remember the number that they've been assigned. I'm not going to worry about that with Andre. I wrote it down for him. Andre is now Farwell's Force member number 369. Farwell's Force member number 45 is Preston Paul, who's with us on Talkback. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Mike. I think he's up to 3.5 glasses already.
I'm telling you, that guy is something else, isn't he?
He is. I love him. A couple of things. That orange psycho in the States, they're telling us that China's going to take our Stanley Cup away. What is going on? And really? And you're going to try and stop people from using the Gordie Howe Bridge? Like, it just blows my mind. And I hope you have a good game tonight with the Rangers, and I hope they win 4-2.
I like it, Paul. I like where you're coming from. Thanks, buddy.
You have a good night.
You too. Talk to you soon. It's always a good night when I get to go to the rink. But I will admit, I much prefer coming home after a win than coming home after a loss. Just on the Donald Trump point. I heard another commentator, and I mentioned this earlier today, suggest that in his opinion, Donald Trump is beginning to lose control of his faculties. He is just not well between the ears. And he went even further to say, maybe it's time that we, and that would include us here in Canada, started to look for people to run for the highest positions of political power who are a wee bit younger than, 80, which Donald Trump turns this year. Is that right? And then Biden, of course, was 83 when he left office. It's like, what are we doing here? And then I thought, well, wait a minute. How well did that work out for us here in Canada when we took the graduated drama teacher and made him prime minister? I don't think it went very well for a little while. Anyway, I don't know that I necessarily disagree entirely. First, with the assertion that maybe, just maybe, Donald Trump is failing mentally. He's just not doing well up there. And certainly the idea of maybe, just maybe, electing people that are at least under 70 for crying out loud, but we always seem to go. And I know with age comes experience and all of that, but same old ideas. And then you end up with what we have seen in now the past 2 terms politically in the United States. Because when this commentator was mentioning this, I couldn't help but think of, do you remember that debate with Joe Biden? Oh my God, like what an absolute disaster. And this was the president of the United States who was clearly unwell, he couldn't handle the debate, much less, it makes you wonder, how did he handle the job? Why are we giving the reins of power to people like this? Is that ageist of me? Maybe it is, but who are we handing the reins of power to? Just some questions that come to mind as we enjoy a Talkback Hour here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Final minutes of Talkback for another day here on the show, which means final chance for you to have your say. Right back to the phones for John. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
A couple of things I was wanting to comment on was the lady that was on earlier today from, I believe she was from McMaster and Hamilton.
That's right, yes. Tobogganing with helmets.
Yeah, with the helmet thing. I'd be interested to know how many other accidents that she comes across with tobogganers as far as broken limbs. A number of years ago, I'm in my early 70s by now, but my buddy of mine from high school, we went tobogganing at Chicopee when the season was closed, and he wound up running into one of the steel posts for the fencing and broke a compound fracture in his lower leg. It was nasty.
I believe that it would be, and it sounds, I mean, a little bit of the author of his own misfortune, John. What are you doing tobogganing there?
I guess we were, but I can tell you we hadn't been drinking that day. So anyway, I wonder, being a skier as well, that the helmets are not legislated for, because I've seen a number of falls, and if they were not wearing helmets, it would have been a very, very bad situation. So I just was wondering if she had statistics on the other injuries as far as helmets go.
Yeah, the point of it was the head injuries are the most common. So yes, they see other injuries, but the head injuries are the most common.
Oh, is that right? I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I really am. But people, it's I don't know. It's $80 to $100 for a helmet. I don't think a brain injury is worth very much. It isn't worth that kind of money.
Amen to that.
A lot more. So, one other thing, Mike, while I have you on the phone, could I get number 429? I know you're going out of sequence.
I know. No, that's okay. I'm looking here because when I go out of sequence, it messes up my paper, Bill. But
oh no,
no, I know, and I'm such a stickler. I'll tell you, 429, my friend. It is yours,
John K.
John K. You got
Thanks,
it, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Great to hear from you. And we're adding to Farwell's force, just like that. A force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. The interview that John made reference to with Dr. April Cam earlier today. Yes, her research finding that head injuries are the most common that she sees from tobogganing, and they have been increasing since the pandemic when, we didn't have much else to do, so we actually went outside, which is still a great idea. Go out and enjoy this winter weather if that's your thing. Even if you don't enjoy it, I will say this. I have been forcing myself, truly forcing myself, including this past weekend when the weather was not very nice at all in terms of temperature. The sun was out, but oh my gosh, was it cold. And still got out there and breathed some fresh air. It matters, I think. I'm told that's what we hear. I read it all the time. I've been forcing myself to go out. But Dr. Cam was talking about those who were out enjoying winter activities such as sledding, and hey, maybe, just maybe, we should consider helmets. And John shares a great example as to why we might want to wear a helmet. And it's just something that I think if we normalize it, right? There weren't helmets in hockey way back when. There weren't always helmets for bicyclists, etc. So not a terrible idea. As John points out, what you spend on a helmet is going to be far less than the damage that could be caused from a head injury. And you can use a hockey helmet or a ski helmet. So if you're already playing hockey, just take the hockey helmet with you when you go out and do some tobogganing. Email from Jonathan, who's a Farwell's Force member, number 310, in good standing. Jonathan's email to Mike at 570news.com. You just said you want to get to 500 members of Farwell's Force by the end of the year. What happened to the challenge of 777 members issued to you about a week and a half ago? Jonathan, your memory is better than mine, my friend. Good job. Yes, it was Fire Hall Bill. And he called up and asked for number 777, which he got. And then he put the challenge not just to me, but to you, and said, if you're already a member of Farwell's Force, just get a friend or a relative to join you as a member. And boom, we're going to double up on the, wow, we're pushing 330, 340. I got so many out of sequence now. You don't know what this does to a guy like me. Honestly, I like things in an orderly fashion, okay? I'm very particular, a.k.a. I'm anal. Anyway, the challenge was 777. I thought 500 was a good stretch goal by the end of the year. Let's see if we can add another 150 members or so. My buddy Doug sends me an email to Mike at 570news.com, and he's looking there. He says he's ready for a number. There's another one. It's a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. And we gather around our radios each and every day starting at 9 a.m. We'll do that again tomorrow. As always, you are invited to the conversation. We'll mind some of Ottawa's business with the Blacklocks reporter. We're going to check in on why the region of Waterloo has not just a water problem, but a sewer problem. We'll talk more about the corruption that's been uncovered within the Toronto Police Service and lots more. Josh Piercy and I on the air from the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium tonight with the only pregame show you're going to find anywhere. The Harris Law pregame show starts at 6:30. We've got all of the action between the Rangers and the Knights, and then Josh and I stick around for the only postgame show you're going to find anywhere, and we'll take your calls on Rangers Talk. I hope you'll join us then. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.